great men. So he went out on the road all alone. It's a lot like he found himself 2 days ago in the Alps. Done, finished, over. No one gave him a chance. But from somewhere deep in the dream, Floyd Landis rode to make it all come true. All along, he knew how this fairy tale should end. But it's one of the hardest conclusions there is. Then one day, a wise doctor told him he was running out of time, that his hip was dying, and that his ride, as he knew it, was almost over. In the face of history yesterday, he defied the clock. Today, he takes the greatest ride any cyclist could ever take, in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower and where a city was once liberated. Floyd Landis wears Le Maillot Jaune. It is the single greatest thing a cyclist from Lancaster, Pennsylvania could ever do. Today, a conclusion, and yet, a new beginning. Welcome to the Soft Tour pre-race show, and today, the Tour de France once again wraps its arms around some of the most famous landmarks on Earth. It's stage 20, and the culmination of a 2,200-mile ride from the Eiffel Tower to the Place de la Concorde to here, to the Champs-Élysées and the famous cobblestones. I'm Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll. It was right here, Bob, and it happens in front of the Arch of Triumph, the Arc de Triomphe, that the French champion Laurent Fignon collapsed in 1989 when Greg LeMond did something that they said was impossible, Greg, you can't do it. And yet it becomes the perfect inspiration, along with Lance Armstrong's successes here, for a then 13-year-old Floyd Landis.
Floyd Landis, watching on TV, taking inspiration from Greg LeMond's impossible ride. He wiped out a deficit that said was impossible to do. You can't do it, Greg, but a good tour. You got second place. But for Floyd Landis, the same thing happened to La Toussuire. He lost a huge chunk of time. Everyone said, this tour is over for you, Floyd. He plummeted in the standings. The very next day to Morzine, he said, no, I'm going to try anyways. And he was able to take most of the time back. And then the final chapter written in the time trial yesterday, where he took 1 minute and 29 seconds from Oscar Pereiro to be 59 seconds in the lead of the tour. One of the closest battles in the history of the tour, and one of the greatest victory of all the American wins. There's been a lot, but this has got to be up there with the best.
From Lancaster, Pennsylvania to San Diego, California to the streets of Paris. It's good enough to be a movie and definitely a fairy tale. Here is Floyd's improbable ride. Saturday, July 1st, the opening prologue of about 4 miles, and the problems for Floyd Landis began with a slashed tire and a late beginning. He missed about 5 seconds and wasn't even sure that he had to come to a complete stop before beginning. And when that day was over, it felt like there was going to be an American story, but an American story written by Discovery's George Hincapie. Things would soon change. On went the tour through the flat stages, eventually coming to the individual time trial in stage 7, when Floyd Landis had to adjust his handlebars and then survive a cracked handlebar situation, avoiding a crash and moving on to finish second. He established his speed, and then he established his strength in the Pyrenees and the climb to Pla de Barret in Spain.
Pla de Barret was a great stage for Floyd Landis. This is where we saw his ability to power away from his rivals. Only a couple of men able to stay with him on that day, and he got the yellow jersey.
But the yellow jersey comes with a heavy weight to bear, and so Floyd Landis and Team Phonak began to plot a way to give it away. Oscar Pereiro trailed the yellow jersey by 28 minutes and 50 seconds. He was part of a breakaway that Floyd Landis and Phonak decided not to keep up with. So Floyd, when he came across well in the pack in the yellow jersey, gave it away, and suddenly the Spanish rider from Cas d'Epargne was part of the yellow jersey picture. Then came stage 15.
This is Andreas Klöden to Alpe d'Huez, and this was a great stage for Floyd Landis, putting distance between himself and the yellow jersey. Cadel Evans, Andreas Klöden, great day for Big Floyd, flying up the mountain.
Then all eyes turned to stage 16. And what happened then was almost inexplicable, because up until that moment, Floyd had shown no weakness, but he hit the dreaded wall, and all systems shut down. And from the leadership of the race, he fell 8 minutes and 8 seconds behind. Everyone said his Tour de France was over. Teammate Axel Merckx tried to save the day by getting him to the finish line, and then we came to the many climbs of stage 17, and on the very first mountain,
this is the Col de Cézanne, and it's Andreas Klöden, Carlos Sastre, and Cadel Evans recognizing the moment in the race, but they could do nothing about it to conserve their yellow jersey, and Floyd Landis rode away from them. They hoped they'd see this man again. They won't see him until the cobbles of the Champs-Élysées.
Suddenly, Floyd Landis trailed Carlos Sastre by 18 seconds and Oscar Pereiro by 30. And it brought us to yesterday's individual time trial, when at all the early time checks, Floyd Landis got positive reinforcement that what he was doing was of championship caliber.
The bike was dialed, Floyd was fired up, he had great momentum from the Morzine stage win and pulling himself back into the GC picture. That was all he needed to do a great time trial. Fifth man in the yellow jersey, Oscar Pereiro, did the time trial of his life, but not quite enough to save the jersey. Floyd Landis, unbelievable ride.
And as the sun set yesterday in Mont-Saint-Lamine, Floyd Landis talked about what it means to wear yellow into Paris.
If I arrive in Paris with the yellow jersey, that would be all I could have hoped to achieve in this sport. I think most cyclists will agree that it's the biggest race in cycling. And if that happens, I will be satisfied with my career, no matter what happens next.
Wow, so Floyd reaches the pinnacle in Paris, leading the race by 59 seconds in the race for the yellow jersey presented by Michelob Ultra. On down the list, the contenders who failed to keep up to Floyd Landis' pace.
Denny Menchov, DeSalle, Moreau, Zubeldi, and Rogers winding out the top 10.
And there you have the American stories well off the pace set in the 2006 Tour de France. There was that moment yesterday, and a moment of great sportsmanship it was, when Oscar Pereiro knew the yellow jersey was gone, and he went over and hugged Floyd Landis. And today's stage 20, and Floyd is expected to sip champagne on his way to the Champs-Élysées. But we've seen in past years when Lance Armstrong won that when the race hits these cobblestones, it takes on a crazy energy.
Every single guy that's left in the race wants to get a little bit of camera time, and you never know, the attacks sometimes do succeed. Watch for the whole peloton to simultaneously go insane once they hit the cobblestones. There will be attacks everywhere. Probably will come back together like it most times does, and the yellow jersey in Floyd Landis' back pocket. That's a foregone conclusion, but for the stage, tooth and nail all the way to the line.
Time now for Bob Key's Guide to the Tour, and Bob's going to talk about the epilogue, which is sometimes the best part of the novel.
The epilogue sometimes is indeed the best part of the novel. In bike racing, the Tour de France makes the rider. The fame of the event makes the rider famous. And it's the champions that succeed in winning this event that write their names down on the history books. However, American winners have had a very tough time realizing that they are made famous by this event, and they have to return time and time again. There will be a multitude of American winners in the years to come. They will multiply like the blades of grass, and hopefully they won't run away like wild horses over the hills.
And now we'll take a break on the Saab Tour pre-race show, make the move to our mobile studio just off the Champs-Élysées. It's time to award our Saab Performance Predictions yellow jersey. And guess what? And Americorns won that too. We'll be back with Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen after this, prior to stage 20, and Floyd Landis wearing yellow jersey after this on OLN.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
This week, OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. Go! The gender war is about to explode.
Picking them girls off one by one is what it's going to be about.
We're out for blood now.
Hot drama.
It's definitely personal. Screw you.
Molten tempers.
You're messing me up!
Steamy situations.
She's hot.
Guard! What are you doing?
It's enough to cause an eruption. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins Wednesday at 7 p.m. on OLN.
Greg LeMond was the American trailblazer in cycling's great race, winning in '86 and finishing with 3 Tours de France championships. Lance Armstrong came back from cancer and won a record 7 straight to become an American icon beyond cycling. And now in 2006, the improbable ride of Floyd Landis, beginning on the roar up the mountains in stage 17 and continuing yesterday with enough time gained in the individual time trial to put him in the yellow jersey en route to Paris. For 80 years, the Americans had nothing, nada, to show in the Tour de France. Then Greg was a top 10 finisher in '84 and began to win championships in '86. Now American cycling almost expects an American to finish in the top 10. Our mobile studio has made its final move. We're just off the Champs-Élysées, where stage 20 will finish today. Al and Bob back with Paul Sherwen and Phil Liggett. And it's at a time like this and an event like this where you start thinking already of what's next and who's going to sign what contract. Well, here's Floyd Landis looking at hip replacement surgery, coming off the biggest championship of his life. What do you think is next for him, Phil?
Well, you know, I think first of all, you've got to have a serious setback if you're American to finally win the Tour de France. Greg LeMond was shot, Lance came back from cancer, and now a hip replacement is in view for Floyd Landis. But you know, I've spoken to a lot of people, Al, in the last 2 weeks. People have sent me emails when they've heard our commentaries, and they reckon he'll come back a better rider.
Well, if you look at what's next for Phonak, they're loaded. iShares, internet, investments, that just drips of money. So do you think they'll come through, or do you think Floyd is going to listen to other teams?
No, I think, you know, Floyd has got to look at the team that supported him over the last couple of years, and I think he's happy where he is. You know, he went through US Postal Service, and I think where he is right now is a happy place for him to be, and that's very often the thing that's very important, especially when you bear in mind that whatever happens, he's still going to have a very hard struggle back.
You know, it's a little bit Lance Armstrong-like, because they say you can't come back from hip replacement to win a race or compete at this level, and they said the same thing just 5 days ago. It's impossible. You can't do it.
Yes, Floyd Landis is a great investment to make. What you'll get from him is hard work, talent, incredible grit, and also a never surrender attitude. So anybody that takes a gamble on Floyd Landis is going to get 3 or 4 more Tour wins. So go ahead.
It's time for Floyd Landis and Phonak. Just enjoy the day, and then we'll see where the chips fall. That's our debate of the day, brought to you by Patron. There is no debating the perfection of Patron. So we come to stage 20 in the Tour de France, and a lot of people use the word procession. There'll be no attacks of the yellow jersey, but if there's one word to describe this year's race, it's unpredictable, as in crashes. To many, this Tour de France simply meant a world of hurt. Which all brings us to today. Floyd Landis will probably be sipping champagne. He'll make his way to the finish line, we think, but then you never know. That's part of why we watch stage 20. The Tour de France is well known for its stunning beauty, but nothing gets the blood going like a good crash, and the most frightening of them took place right here on the streets of Champs-Élysées 15 years ago.
To the far left of our picture is Abdou Japarov. See how much room they give him, because once his elbows start working, Olaf Ludwig takes him on nicely. Oh, and he's gone! Abdou Japarov is gone!
He was using every part of his body to transmit all the energy he had into the bike, and he always veered over to the right. Unfortunately, on the Champs-Élysées, when he was looking pretty good, he moved across to the right just a little bit too much, and he clipped one of the feet of the barriers.
If he hadn't crossed the line, then he wouldn't have won the Green Points jersey, and that would have been a terrible injustice.
It was an incredible moment in cycling, and the collective breath taken out of the entire world watching that was something fearsome to behold.
I was totally amazed that man wasn't killed with that crash.
Over his career, Jamaluddin Abdou-Japarov won 10 stages at the Tour de France, including 2 over the very same cobbles that nearly ended his career, not to mention the green jersey 3 times. But he will always be remembered for that amazing crash 15 years ago.
That crash of Abdou Japarov's, if you ever see it, every time you see it, you go, ooh.
That's sort of the reaction I had. And he walked away. Unbelievable. And we had a crash like that in this year's Tour. Phil, do you think this race has one final surprise?
Well, every day we've had a surprise from the minute we started in Strasbourg. Remember, there's 140 riders coming to the finish today on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. Everyone would love to win. The sprinters will sit back and wait. But once they come onto the Champs-Élysées, they hear the crowd, the noise starts, they all rise the pace to 50, 55 kilometers an hour. Everyone will try to win. The stayers, as we call them, will try to break away. The sprinters hope they get their day.
Time now for our individual honor. The Saab Performance Predictions. Last year's championship means nothing this year. We go to the Saab Performance Predictions after yesterday. Sergei Gonchar predicted by Bob Roll. That puts him past me. I got points from Floyd Landis, but it is not enough As we hit the Champs-Élysées, it is time to make the presentation of Le Maillot Jaune, an American in Paris. Bob Roll, congratulations.
Yeah, bravo, bravo.
And he picked last.
Grandissimo.
He picked last.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Please address, for everyone at home, the honor that you feel right now.
It was Floyd Landis. No one predicted him to win the
No,
stage.
it wasn't. It was Sergei Gonchar.
It was Landis that put me back into the picture.
That's true.
Gonchar, that was pure luck.
All right, that's going to do it. It's time to watch what happens in stage 20. That's our final edition of the Saab pre-race show. The 23 days of glory and pain that is the Tour de France has reached its finale. And once more, it has captured the imagination as Floyd Landis has done the unthinkable. Not just winning the Tour, but winning after falling to the depths of despair before resurrecting himself as no one has ever done in the 100-year history of the Tour. Enjoy with us his final day on the Champs-Élysées, next on OLN.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Introducing Ruby Tuesday's Triple Prime Burger. The only one made with prime tenderloin, prime ribeye, and prime sirloin, ground fresh. So it eats like steak and cuts like butter. The new Triple Prime Burger, Ruby Tuesday.
Some perfection is debatable. Some is not. Patron, the world's #1 ultra-premium tequila. Simply perfect. Please drink responsibly.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Virus recovery button. The Lenovo ThinkPad Z60 with Intel Centrino mobile technology.
All new tonight on E! Ladies, hide your husbands, cause Paris and Nicole are moving in. And it's gonna be one heck of a homecoming.
Uh-oh. Your mom is going to kill you.
But I didn't make the mess.
Yeah, but I'm gonna blame it on you.
The Simple Life, all new tonight at 10.
Hi, it's me, Mike Rowe, host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs with the good news. Shark Week is back.
And now, you can watch an exclusive uncut Shark Week premiere, behind-the-scenes footage, and extra bonus material, including the best Shark Week episodes from years past, with Comcast On Demand. Dive into Shark Week this summer on the Discovery Channel.
During cancer treatment, Elizabeth could only watch from the sidelines. Today, her cancer is in remission, and she's ready to play.
Elizabeth is one of millions of children with hope because of Children's Miracle Network. We are the alliance of premier children's hospitals dedicated to serving all children. Your support can make miracles happen.
That's the scene. We're on the Champs-Élysées. That's the palace. There's the Eiffel Tower. Where are we? Of course, we're in Paris. The end of the 93rd running of the Tour de France, and an American is all set to win yet again. Hi, everybody. I'm Phil Liggett with Paul Sherwen, and welcome to our live coverage For the last time, sadly, of this year's Tour de France here on OLN. Paul, it's the big day for Floyd Landis.
It's a huge day for Floyd Landis, but don't think it's going to be a promenade around the Champs-Élysées, because it is a race. It's the final race, and a lot of riders want to have glory on these fabled cobblestones here. And Floyd Landis will try and keep out of danger, try and keep out of trouble, and hopefully at the end of this stage he will be crowned the winner.
Well, what a comeback it was. We thought he was dead and done. The next day he comes back and he's just off the lead. Yesterday, of course, in the time trial, he's back in the yellow jersey. Now he faces just one final ride. It's not a long one. We spend a lot of time, in fact, on the Champs-Élysées itself. We have been right round through 6 countries, including France, and now we're heading up towards Paris. Our map today brought to us by AMD, and we're heading on to the Champs-Élysées. We're starting not very far away, in fact, at Saint-Antony, and then we race back into the centre of the Champs-Élysées for 8 circuits of a familiar route.
Very familiar route for everybody in the Champs-Élysées on the Tour de France, but this is what it looks like. It's 96 miles, and that, by the way, is 3 times the length of the Channel Tunnel. First winner on the Champs-Élysées, 1975, Walter Godefroot. Last winner, strangely enough, Alexander Vinokourov last year, who next year will be actually looked after by Walter Godefroot.
Well, there you have it for the moment. Now let's join Bob Roll and Al Trautwig.
Earlier today, as we begin our coverage of Stage 20 in prime time, Floyd Landis with a huge smile and a handshake of congratulations. That should be the mood of the Peloton today. As the Peloton said to Jean-Marie Leblanc, thank you for all your work and support since 1989. And there they are across the front, the white jersey wearers, the king of the mountains, Michael Rasmussen and Robbie McEwen, who has a huge lead.
That is Laurent Jalabert, the French commentator and great champion of French cycling. The last real superstar they've had in this biking contest, and he does the commentary day in and day out. There's Fabian Wegman. No, it's Jos Postuma.
And if anything, these images reflect the feel of the Peloton on Stage 20.
This has been an incredibly brutal Tour de France. Every day has been vicious, every man taking his chance whenever they had the notion. And so today is an epilogue, a cruise into Paris so far.
And this Tour 20 will move forward and then get the final wave. And boy, you'd love to be inside the head of Jean-Marie Leblanc. He's been the race. He's the one who jumps out of the car when the protesters are there. And he says, no, you must get out of the way. The Tour must go on no matter what.
This is the départ fictif, the pretend start. This is a rollout. We're going to see Jean-Marie Leblanc for the last time start a bike race. And that's it. This is the real départ. That's when the clock starts ticking. The first few kilometers, just a parade through town. Neutral. No racing allowed. There is Floyd Landis and Oscar Pereiro. Tremendous sportsmanship shown between the two athletes. Oscar Pereiro being given 30 minutes by Phonak. And Oscar Pereiro, nothing but congratulations for Floyd Landis, who has been the dominant athlete of this tour.
So all respect has been given to Jean-Marie Leblanc, to all the jersey wearers, especially Floyd Landis in the yellow jersey today.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Cervelo.tv and by IBM. What makes you special?
So, boss, what keeps you up at night? Maybe you've been tasked with coming up with the next best thing since sliced bread. But look at the guy who invented sliced bread. He didn't invent bread. He didn't invent slicing. He just applied new technology to an age-old problem. Now, who's going to help you do that?
life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. The rewarding taste of Michelob Ultra. Perfectly balanced and made for today. Live life to the ultra.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday, it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best Little Leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beef. The PBR returns with a vengeance. The OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
The sky is perfect blue. No cloud could spoil the view. It's a sign. And the bees are flying in the trees. The sun's in the sky, just for you and I. It's a sign from above that shows that we're in love.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Nissan. The next Nissan Maxima is here. And by Lenovo, maker of ThinkPad, including the ThinkPad tablet and ThinkPad widescreen. And by Cervelo.tv.
We look down at the Palace of Versailles. The aerial view provided by Trek as we continue with stage 20 in prime time here on OLN. The very easygoing Peloton has moved and completed its southern loop and now headed directly toward Paris. This is on the outskirts. You must see it in person. You must see the Hall of Mirrors. You must see how ridiculously over the top Versailles is.
When you imagine the type of degradation that people lived through at the time, and the very few bougie lunatics living up in the palace there, it's not very hard to imagine the revolution in France being too far away, considering the opulence that the royal family lived in.
Now we wonder at what point someone will try to do something at the front of the Peloton to shake things up.
A very, very leisurely pace so far on today's stage. It has been a grisly Tour de France. It's been hot, difficult, unpredictable attacks day in and day out. Levi Leipheimer, there's your answer, Al, the first man, but that's just for fun. He's only kidding. He's going to hide and hitchhike and clap for the Peloton coming by. And they might wonder where Levi went if they don't see him standing by the side of the road there.
Is he sticking out his thumb? Is he doing that?
Frivolity on the last day of the tour, and deservedly so.
For a moment.
The riders
just for a moment, I thought he was going for the stage win.
No. That will not unfold until later when the riders hit the Champs-Élysées. The attacks will come, but for now, neutral. And the riders just ambling through the streets on the outskirts of downtown Paris, as they have done since the start. And they can be excused for doing that, since such a brutal Tour de France has captured the imagination of the world because of that man on the front line in the yellow jersey, golden bicycle, yellow helmet and glasses, Floyd Landis. He's always worn the yellow shoes for the last couple of years, and now they match his jersey.
You know it was a torturous Tour de France when Alpe d'Huez was not the hardest of the Alpine climbs.
Oh man, La Toussuire was brutal. The stage to Morzine with the Cessy and the Colombière, and then the final climb of the Jouplan, and then down into Morzine. That was also a brutal stage. The winner not emergent, and Floyd Landis almost taken out by the Stars and Stripes there. Got to be careful with the flag, folks. The stages in the Alps, we thought when the race route was announced that would decide the race. But it wasn't until the final time trial that a winner emerged, and that was that man in the yellow jersey, Floyd Landis. What an incredible tour it has been.
And amazingly, Floyd Landis will, just a few weeks from today, have surgery to replace his hip. There are evidently two choices to be made as far as how invasive a procedure is done. They're still trying to figure out exactly which way they're going to go, but the doctors have told Floyd that there's every chance that the hip will be as strong as ever and pain-free.
That's got to send a shiver of fear through Floyd Landis's competitors to imagine that he would be stronger after his hip replacement surgery than he is now. And I don't know if we can reasonably expect to see a ride like he did to Morzine.
And what a year to be a free agent. Seriously, I mean, if you look at what's going on in the sport right now, and you know that there's a couple of big names who are tainted, if you were trying to build your team, who would you sign?
You got to have Floyd Landis if you're trying to build the best team in the sport.
Stage 20 moving to Paris. The status of those two men confirmed. Robbie McEwen will wear green, and Floyd Landis eventually will take a sip of champagne of the Champs-Élysées.
The aerodynamic principles that keep a Saab jet in the air help the Saab 9.5 remain firmly on the ground. Introducing the new 260 horsepower Saab 9.5. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Take flight in the newly redesigned 9.5 sedan for under $35,000.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Introducing Ruby Tuesday's Triple Prime Burger. The only one made with prime tenderloin, prime ribeye, and prime sirloin. Ground fresh. So it eats like steak and cuts like butter. The new Triple Prime Burger, Ruby Tuesday.
OLN has two of the biggest names ever to play the game. Next, Venus and the Philadelphia Freedoms try to hold down the Houston Wranglers. Tomorrow, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers crash in on those same Houston Wranglers. It's WTT. Starts next, only on OLN.
Would you like to rub elbows with SpongeBob SquarePants? How about help the Tuttles build a motorcycle on American Chopper? Comcast Spotlight is currently looking for media sales applicants to join our highly motivated sales team. If you have media sales experience, great presentation skills, and ability to communicate creatively and effectively in a fast-paced environment, send in your resume to 2809 East Harmony Road, Suite 300, or call 493-5100. It's sometimes fast, it's sometimes furious, but it's always fun. Join our team today.
The hit movies you want to see are playing this week on In-Demand Pay-Per-View.
Why am I being investigated? Why am I being investigated?
See George Clooney's Academy Award-winning performance. Syriana, now on pay-per-view.
They're like people or something living in those hills.
The lucky ones die first. Order The Hills Have Eyes on pay-per-view. On In-Demand Pay-Per-View. Get it now from Comcast Digital Cable.
Fashions in Paris. It's a tradition, and right now, this is where we stand with the Lenovo jersey leaders. Robbie McEwen's going to win the green. Rasmussen and the King of the Mountains. Kunigo is the white, and Floyd Landis is in yellow. As you look down on the Peloton now, moving along so slowly toward Paris, you know that the majority of the riders that are left, 140 started the day, are just hoping that this race ends today and they get through it and it's over and they can take a deep breath and look at their next race. There's a small group, though, that are plotting right now how they're going to win the stage. And I talked to Robbie McEwen after yesterday's stage. It was a happenstance meeting. And he clearly knew that he had the huge lead in the green jersey, but being the stage winner meant a lot for him as far as affirming that jersey for him. So he's going to be part of it.
He will definitely try to be a part of the sprint finish. Very few sprinters left in the bike race. Both Boonen and Oscar Freire going out in the last few days. Boonen in the Alps and Freire just a couple of days ago. So Robbie McEwen we'll have a couple of less guys to sprint against, assuming it does come down to a bunch gallop. Team Lotto might put some of their GC men on the front to chase down the breakaways that are inevitable.
He did say the hardest part about it was creating a sprint finish.
Yes, most definitely. Because it's such a small peloton and there's not that many sprinters left, not a lot of teams to do the tempo to catch the breakaways. Last year, Alexander Vinokourov was so strong that he was able to break away, and it wasn't a field sprint for the win, even though Robbie McEwen was right in there. It was Vinokourov that got the win in a breakaway. It's rare, but it does happen.
So this is stage 20. It's going to conclude the 2,200-mile journey. Another handshake for Floyd Landis. I venture a guess he'll have touched hands with everybody in the peloton as this stage moves along.
It seems as if every single rider has had a chance to come
to the front and pay homage.
Say good job, Floyd. Very nice guy. One of the nicest guys in the peloton. And nice guys do finish first on occasion. Floyd Landis will go out the winner of the Tour de France in 2006 on one of the most improbable and spectacular comebacks in the history of bike racing.
Levi Leipheimer had his fun. He didn't get the stage win he really wanted, but he mounted a big comeback in the middle of this Tour de France. Well, it's your last day to play along. Go to olntv.com/fly to the finish during the tour for your chance to win a Saab 9 7X. Today's code word is, appropriately, Paris. You can also win a Cervelo bike or the yellow jersey like we used in the performance predictions, signed by Phil, Paul, and the victorious Bob Roll. What if Floyd didn't get the yellow jersey by 59 seconds? What would be happening in this stage right now?
If he fell a few seconds short.
Or if it was a 10 or 15 second cushion.
It might be a different bike race altogether. But he put quite a bit of daylight between himself and Oscar Pereiro in the time trial.
You know, it's funny, you can make two arguments. You could make the argument that he never should have come back, or that he should have won this Tour de France by 8 minutes.
That's just the way it goes. The bike racing, totally unpredictable.
This is stage 20 of the Tour in prime time. Back on OLN after this.
All power with no shift shock. The next Nissan Maxima with CVT, part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
He's no longer in white pants. He's now wearing...
Subway Dinner Theatre presents The Unfed. I smell a blockbuster, and for dinner, Subway restaurants!
And the delicious new bourbon chicken sandwich, tender chicken in a zesty sauce, hot and fresh from the oven on freshly baked bread.
Subway, eat fresh!
OLN and Top Rank present the Sweet Science. Thursday night is now Fight Night. Today's top contenders, tomorrow's future champions, live in the squared circle, plus unforgettable fights featuring legends of the ring. Fight Night premieres with the NABF Middleweight Championship. Undefeated title holder Kelly Pavlik battles dangerous southpaw Bronco McCart. Fight Night premieres Thursday at 9, only on OLN.
Bedhead.
proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration, except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
The 2006 Tour de France on OLA is brought to you by Saab. Once you build jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. And by LLB, official outfitter of OLA.
Robbie McEwen's been at the top of his game for some time. A multiple stage winner in this tour, wearing the green jersey and poised to be a part of the craziness that will come when this race hits the cobblestones of the Champs-Élysées. Just under 90 kilometers or 55.5 miles to go. Al Trautwig, Bob Roll, Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwen, Craig Hummer, Frankie Andreu, and Robbie Ventura, all part of our coverage this month of July.
Robbie McEwen having a fantastic tour. 3-stage wins so far, looking for number 4. There's Dave Zabriskie, Axel Merckx, and of course Floyd Landis. Zabriskie and Landis living together, sharing an apartment in Spain, and doing many, many hours of training together. And they've been on the roads of France for many hours, almost 100 hours of racing this year in the tour.
One thing there will not be today in Paris, there will not be a flag of Texas atop the Hotel du Crillon. That was the flag flown by Lance's group to proclaim his Tour de France victories and the Lone Star State's presence here in Paris. Floyd's going to have to do it in some other different way. As the Peloton makes its rounds around the city, it's time to go back to Lance Armstrong one more time for Lance on, riding into Paris.
It's interesting. I mean, riding into Paris, I mean, typically start in the suburbs, and it's been, for us, we always had a big night the night before. We'd eat crap food and drink beer, and then we'd have to get up in the morning, do a transfer, and you still have to do a stage that technically counts. So probably not the smartest thing we ever did, but you know, you finally get into Paris, the crowds are huge, and as the years wore on for us, I mean, there were more and more Americans, more and more local fans, which was nice. For me, I was always just glad to be there because it was almost over. I mean, I really always wanted to get out the tour. I mean, it was 3 weeks of constant focus and attention, and I mean, the countdown, I think we do like 7 laps on the Champs-Élysées. I was just so glad when we got to Bell Lap. I was like, let's get this over with. The important thing to remember, I mean, if you crashed 3 kilometers before the finish line, broke your collarbone, never got up, and you had a 10-minute lead, you still lose the Tour de France. So while it looks ceremonial, it's very much a real stage.
Today's Lance On brought to you by American Century Investments, mutual funds and institutional money management for more than 45 years. Lance admitted a lot.
Yes.
The big party the night before the final stage.
That's why maybe a little bit of fatigue for the riders coming into Paris on today's stage. Very leisurely tempo, and they can be excused for taking some easy miles. There hasn't been one easy kilometer yet in the tour. It's been tempo from the start of each stage. The riders not capable of doing the big sprints have been attacking like lunatics, and of course the mountains are always hard right from the first kilometer. It's been a tour that no one's been able to control. Not one day has there been a team dominant like we have seen in the last 7 years with Postal and then Discovery. So that gives all the riders, in the back of their minds, they know that there won't be a huge chase, and why not give it a try? So just about each man in the Peloton has at one time or another tried to break away for the stage win, and that is a very difficult rhythm to get used to and makes for a very, very tough tour.
And Bob, because of the part of the world that I come from, the Peloton today is so easygoing. They're a lot like the Long Island Railroad. They're about 20 minutes late. We get a book every day that tells us exactly what time the Peloton is supposed to arrive at every village and city in that particular stage. And we've got the numbers for this stage 20, and they've got some catching up to do.
Well, they'll speed up on the Champs-Élysées on the last few circuits of the stage. However, what we've become accustomed to is the riders being 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes ahead of schedule. But in this tour, not the case. And the riders way behind on today's stage. They'll make up a little bit of time as we accelerate towards the finish. But not anything like the tempo that we usually see during the stage of the tour. Cyril Dessel, yellow jersey. First place Frenchman, teammate of Christophe Moreau.
Just to go back to Lance Armstrong for a moment. We've talked about his very frosty relationship with Jean-Marie Leblanc and the Tour de France itself. And apparently there was a meeting yesterday in the team discovery bus between Jean-Marie and Lance. And reportedly they both said it was a great meeting. So who knows what that means for Lance's presence at future Tours de France.
I hope to see more of Lance's presence, and Greg LeMond would be greatly appreciated on the roads of France. Floyd Landis hopefully can go on and continue to win some more tours, and it would be great to see the other American champions of this beautiful race. There's Floyd Landis in the yellow jersey. Cyril Dessel has had a great tour. AG2R lost their GC leader before the stage because of Operation Puerto, Francisco Mancebo. But Dessel has done a great job, as well as Sylvain Calzati, to keep them in the news. Cyril Dessel, the top place Frenchman on GC at the end of the tour, and Sylvain Calzati winning a stage earlier in the race.
Christian Prudhomme, the incoming race director, said today that when the Puerto doping scandal hit the day before the race, they, Pro Cycling, didn't know what to do. And then they realized they have to just turn it over to the riders and let the riders generate the interest. And he's so happy that there was interest that was generated by the Floyd Landis stage 17 and everything that happened in the last few days. Just about to enter the city now. And the Peloton is given one final gift by Mother Nature.
A little bit of cloud cover to cool down the overheated riders. It's been a brutally hot Tour de France, much like 2003 was. And that never cooled off until the final time trial. And Lance Armstrong winning number 5. The last two editions were a lot cooler with very cool temperatures and a lot of rain early in the race before heating up for just a few days. And this one has been, again, a very hot Tour de France.
This September, major changes here at OLN as we change our name to Versus, bringing you exclusive events you can't see anywhere else, like the Tour de France and the America's Cup, plus in-depth coverage of the Davis Cup, boxing, the PBR, and it's the only place for weekly national coverage of the National Hockey League, the network for our athletes, sportsmen, for fans, and anyone who's up for a challenge. This September, OLN becomes Versus. And yesterday we announced that Versus will be airing live the Tour of California, the Amgen Tour of California in February.
The defending champion, none other than Floyd Landis. Amazingly, he's won 4 out of the 6 stage races that he's done this year. He only lost the Dauphiné and the Criterium International, but he did win the Tour of California way back in February, Paris-Nice, and the Tour of Georgia. February, March, April, big wins, and now in July, another big win. I thought that maybe part of his troubles on the La Toussuire stage was because he had been so dominant early this year. The new model is that you peak just on the 1st of July and none other race in the year.
This is stage 20, the ride to Paris on OLN.
The last time the Cowboys met the Bulls, not one stayed the full 8. Will they bounce back or just bounce? The PBR from Tulsa continues tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific, only on OLN.
How about here? You got anything?
No.
What about now?
Stop. No.
Here?
No.
What about now?
No. 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 Stop. Back up. We're in. 4 bars, baby.
The rabbit's back.
It's, $18 for an hour.
Because the city's expensive enough.
GoDaddy, the world's #1 domain name. Bang bang banana pants with the lazy baby bingo. Makes it fast, fun, and affordable to get on the internet.
Just buy any other hot internet product and your .com is just $1.99.
With your very own .com. Any other domain name for just $1.99. This train's coming in. 199.coms at GoDaddy.com.
Just go to www.godaddy.com.
It's GoDaddy!
Rise above the routine. Call 1-866-370-4500 for a Utah travel guide.
A foot specialist diagnosed Van Lowe with plantar
fasciitis.
Someday, medical school. Today, start saving with free checking that lets you save automatically. Get started on your someday today at Wells Fargo.
We certainly had our share of black and blue moments in this Tour de France. It took one of the favorites, Alejandro Valverde, and knocked him out. It took Bobby Julich and knocked him out. And that's just the beginning. Bobby, by the way, is still recuperating and will not join his team CSE for the finish here in Paris. He says it's too important that he's back up on the bike and getting ready for his next race. Robbie Ventura has taken the ride with Floyd Landis the past couple of years, and he is in the broadcast booth at the finish line with Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen. This has been a really exciting day for Robbie and Floyd.
What sort of plan did they have a meeting last night to discuss what would happen, Robbie, about whether Floyd Landis would be looked after, how he'd be looked after? Is there a plan if he falls, who looks after him and stuff like that?
I think it was a pretty big disappointment when Robbie Hunter was out of the race. He's been Floyd's right-hand man from the start of this race in terms of keeping him upright and healthy. I mean, Robbie Hunter's done a phenomenal job. Even in the short mountains and the smaller mountains, he's kept Floyd out of trouble and has done a great job. Losing him was sad, you know, not only for protecting Floyd, but for his Tour de France, because he's raced phenomenal.
We're talking with Robbie Ventura, the coach of Floyd Landis, who's just waiting now for Floyd to come home and then probably drink the champagne.
When you're riding out on the open road every day under really bad, filthy conditions, you can get any kind of infection. And the Tour de France, if you get the smallest infection, all of a sudden it goes to a massive magnitude. Isn't that true?
It amplifies. You can't get a day off. You can't get a couple days. You can just rest and let that come down and let it drain a little bit. Each day you keep hitting that saddle, and any small little issue, like you said, just gets...
What is this? Hold on a second, Robbie. I'll have to say there is a jerk standing in the middle of the road there. That guy was absolutely ridiculous. He was a spectator. Most of these professional riders got out there. They will have shouted immediately when they saw that bloke doing that, but we very rarely see that in the sport. You see Damiano Cunego there hitting his head. That guy was a nutcase.
Well, I've never seen it before. That's crazy.
And those are the little things that could ruin a Tour de France, and it's a shame that they happen. Those are the things you can't account for.
Well, breathe a deep sigh of relief there for the man at the front. That's why Floyd Landis is riding at the front, making sure that he keeps out of trouble on what can be a ruination day if you make a mistake. We're not too far from the Champs-Élysées. We are making our way slowly but surely to the Champs-Élysées.
Well, I've got a more direct question for Robbie Ventura, Floyd Landis' coach. As we look down on the main field there, everybody's got round that little incident nice and safely. But, Robbie, in the last 4 or 5 kilometres, if Floyd Landis is to have a flat tyre, is there a rider dedicated in Team Phonak to pass him the bike? Who's got the same size machine as him?
I'm sure they have a couple guys that will be surrounding him with the exact same size machine that he has. I think Bert Grabsch is a very similar size, and I'm sure if he got on a little smaller bike, it wouldn't matter. So I'm sure he's going to have a couple guys, whether they're the same size or not.
Well, he couldn't get on Axel Merckx's bike, could he?
He'd make it work if he had to.
Saddles go up and down, of course, but that situation, I must say, was quite amazing to see that. And the Tour de France now heading right around France, of course, the last day of 3 weeks and 1 day of racing. We had a couple of days off on rest days. One was a long travel day. And now the riders are heading home to Paris today. We'll finish, by the way, as soon as Bogart gets all the water he wants, up on the Champs-Élysées with 8 circuits of the Champs, and that's about 6 kilometres or so a lap. So just under 50 kilometres to complete the Tour. And bet your life they'll be racing flat out then. Here's the peloton, just having a little bit of a chat at the moment. Gilberto Simoni on the left of our picture. Such a brilliant rider in the Tour of Italy. He's never really relived the great days in the Tour de France. Looking down at the peloton here, a lot of yellow jerseys down there. One of them is David Miller, of course, and Miller's coming to the end of a great Tour de France. Very strong in the time trial yesterday. The one man who was really strong in that time trial was Floyd Landis, and alongside me, the coach of Floyd. You must be feeling pretty pleased. It's all right knowing that the guy can do the ride, but once he gets it all out, that's the pleasing aspect. Absolutely. I mean, we rode the course in the morning, and he felt so good, but you just never know until it actually happens. And the rise to the occasion like that, it was a special day, and he had a special ride. You say he rode the course in the morning. He did. He got up and he rode the full race distance of 57 kilometres. And then you came and told me he rode the last, what, 10 kilometres at 50k an hour, warming up? Absolutely. And then he went and did another 90-minute warm-up, and then he did another 57k in the race. So he ended up doing probably about 150 kilometres. People always think that the individual time trial is pretty much a day off. Well, it might be a day off for guys like the sprinters who certainly don't worry too much about the warm-up. But a man trying to win the Tour de France, trying to win the individual time trial, it's a very long day of preparation for him. Sorry, over here. It's a long day for the mechanics and the team as well. I mean, they have to prepare a whole new set of bikes. They got to prepare all these different things. It's a complete and utter dedication to a 57-kilometer effort. Was he disappointed he didn't win the time trial? Actually, I think he was a little disappointed. He wanted to put a stamp on the Tour, and but I'm sure he's very happy with the jersey. Just as a point of interest here, you might just see that large building in the middle. That is the La Défense. It's a complete monument to the people who fought and defended Paris in 1871. And the amazing thing about the architecture here, it's a completely straight line there from La Défense right up to the Arc de Triomphe, down the other sides to the pinnacle right in the middle of the Place de la Concorde, and then to the miniature Arc de Triomphe right outside the Louvre. If you get a chance to come here, you've not got to miss that. These young spectators, they're going to win the Tour de France, let me see, another 15 years from now, 2022, right? Okay, well, bravo yo-yo to the Tour, the DZM Tour de France. Thanks very much to Robbie Ventura. He's going to have a great day in a few minutes when the riders come onto the Champs-Élysées with his man he's trained in the yellow jersey. There's Stuart O'Grady. Oh, he's enjoying his day now despite his broken number 4 vertebrae or whatever it is. The Tour de France, these are the light-hearted moments. Very soon it'll all change. Victor Hugo Peña, for the record, won the climb. Small as it was, Ronnie Schultz and David Arroyo in that order. All right, well, let's have a look now. It's time for a look at our Home Depot American overall standings. This is how they're all coming to Paris. Landis 1, Leipheimer 13, Van der Velde 24, George Hincapie 32, Horner 63, Dave Zabiskie 74. Sadly, no Freddie Rodriguez and no Bobby Julich. Well, Levi Leipheimer knows what it's like to come into Paris, so why not ask him, what exactly is it like, Levi?
The first time I rode into Paris in the Tour de France and we hit the Champs-Élysées, it was very emotional for me because I had always dreamed about that moment, you know, finishing the Tour on the Champs-Élysées, the typical summer Parisian day, and I definitely felt this wave of emotion and all the people there that quickly disappeared because we started doing 70K an hour around the cobblestone circuit, but it was something I'll always remember for sure.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best Little Leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beef. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. The rewarding taste of Michelob Ultra. Perfectly balanced and made for today. Live life to the ultra.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Today, stage 20 on OLN. We're surrounded by the beauty of Paris. On the banks of the river Seine, it seems as though everywhere you look, there's a palace, a chateau, a church with an amazing story to tell. Al Trautwig, along with Bob Roll, will get back to stage 20 in a moment. Bob, I know you've told me that just finishing the tour was one of the great moments of your career. What do you think it's like, though, to just finish and have the accomplishment of that, but knowing that you thought you were going to be a major player in the race?
Yeah, I think there was some very disappointing stories for the American bike racers on the tour. Levi Leipheimer sounding a little bit disappointed. George Hincapie wanted to do a lot better. Chris Horner absolutely exhausted at the end of this race trying to help Cadel Evans to do good. Of course, Fred Rodriguez crashing out early. That was a disaster for the rider on the lot of the Wiedemann squad. Christian Van de Velde, a fantastic tour. And of course, Floyd Landis, be real. That's the greatest moment of his sporting career.
Let's get the final reports from our guys who followed the Tour de France each and every day. Frankie Andreu and Craig Hummer sum things up.
It's safe to say it's been a bittersweet Tour de France for the Discovery Channel racing team. They came into this year's tour with 4 riders who had podium aspirations. And although that goal may not have come to fruition, on a positive note, Jaroslav Popovic did win a stage, and George Hincapie became only the 4th American to ever wear the yellow jersey after his tactical Stage 1 ride. Another American, Levi Leipheimer, may not have had the tour that he hoped, but his aggressiveness in the mountains showed that he has the mental and physical strength to challenge for the podium for years to come. I spoke with both George and Levi over the past couple days. They're ready to move on and focus on future challenges, but Levi in particular told me that next year's Tour de France is already in his sights. But for one of their friends, today is a dream come true. And for more on that, let's send it over to Frankie Andreu at the Phonak camp.
For Floyd Landis and Team Phonak, they came into this race saying from day one they were here to win the entire tour. Now, granted, they went about it in a very different way, something that we haven't seen in the past 7 years. Early on in the race, when Floyd had the yellow jersey, he gave it away. He didn't want his team to use up all their energy so early in the race. Then the disastrous stage 16, the kiss of death. The next day, I've never seen such a courageous ride from a rider in the Tour. Floyd was remarkable. I never imagined an American would be able to win the Tour so soon after Lance Armstrong had won his 7. Now, this race was very unpredictable. It was wide open. There was a lot of surprises, but I don't think Floyd is surprised because he's going to be standing on the finish line in Paris wearing the yellow.
Now it's almost time for these teams to think about their futures, and it's hard to figure out exactly what's going to be included in that. But for Team Phonak, how do you think all the members of the team are feeling?
Well, I think they have an incredible sense of accomplishment. It was a tremendous team effort. Floyd Landis had to go it alone at the final day to Morzine, but Axel Merckx especially rode a great Tour. And what we don't see a lot of times is all of the teamwork that gets done on the days leading up to the mountains and early in the mountain stages. Phonak was a fantastic team, the best team in the bike race. They didn't have the best GC team-wise, but they do have the yellow jersey.
And straight ahead, some of the most beautiful pictures in sports as the Tour de France hits Paris.
Marcus Foden having a great time trial, the first long time trial, stage 7, fading a bit after the end of a long, brutal Tour de France. And Damiano Cunego, having already done a number of Grand Tours in his career, a little bit better on the day in the time trial. Foden dropped 38 seconds behind. Started the day just 5 seconds behind, but Damiano Cunego really had a very good time trial. Probably the best in his career on a flat, long, hot stage like we see in the Tour de France. And Damiano Cunego will be the white jersey winner on the podium this afternoon.
Now it's time for the 10-2 moment brought to you by Nike. Floyd Landis off and rolling in stage 19. Fast enough to beat the yellow jersey worn by Oscar Pereiro to claim the yellow jersey for his own. Speed was in need and in full supply for Floyd Landis, who plotted out every inch of the ride. For more great stories, go to wearyellow.com. I remember coming to Paris, Bob, doing an entire French Open, here for 2 weeks, surrounded by Roland Garros, the Eiffel Tower, and then one day we went someplace for dinner, and all of a sudden I saw that area of Paris with the skyscrapers. I didn't even know that was it here. That's not really near the Eiffel Tower and all the real historic stuff.
They try to keep the hoopty out of the historical museum.
Yes. All that crazy 70s architecture. This is stage 20 of the Tour, just on the fringe of the center of Paris.
Where would you go for a delicious panini hot off the grill? How about your microwave? Try a Corner Bistro panini from Stouffer's. Cooked on our revolutionary grilling tray, they're the only panini that actually grill to perfection in your microwave. For a crispy, restaurant-inspired panini at home, try our full menu of Corner Bistro panini. And see what's cooking at Stouffer's.
I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride.
I know. Let's go.
The full line of fun and reliable CRFs from Honda. Everyone wants to ride. For monthly payments as low as $39, visit relief.honda.com or ask your Honda dealer about Red Hot Summer Relief.
All power with no shift shock. The next Nissan Maxima with CVT, part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
Introducing Ruby Tuesday's Triple Prime Burger.
It eats like steak and cuts like butter.
The only one made with prime tenderloin, prime ribeye, and prime sirloin, ground fresh.
The moment you taste a great burger, you know it.
The new Triple Prime Burger, Ruby Tuesday.
This is sick! Help! I hate you! Stop smiling!
Blow me a kiss.
What are you, high?
You got nothing to worry about.
Get HBO on demand. It's the best thing to happen to TV since HBO.
Would you like to rub elbows with SpongeBob SquarePants? How about help the Tuttles build a motorcycle on American Chopper? Comcast Spotlight is currently looking for media sales applicants to join our highly motivated sales team. If you have media sales experience, great presentation skills, and ability to communicate creatively and effectively in a fast-paced environment, send in your resume to 2809 East Harmony Road, Suite 300, or call 493-5100. It's sometimes fast, it's sometimes furious, but it's always fun. Join our team today.
More of stage 20. We've had some cool pictures today. We've had handshakes for Floyd Landis from virtually everyone in the Peloton. We've had our champagne. We'll probably have some more shots of that. We've seen the Phonak team ride at the front. And we still have a lot of miles to go. They'll do many laps in the center of the city where we are on the Champs-Élysées. And remember, someone can win a stage today, and that's a prestigious thing, especially in the city of Paris.
Phonak riders moving to the front to start their tempo.
Floyd had to do a little work there.
Gilberto Simoni, twice winner of the Giro d'Italia, congratulating Floyd. Paris, you've got to see it, and the best day to see Paris is when the Tour de France arrives after its journey around the country. The Great Loop, the Grand Boucle, returning to Paris triumphantly. And the man in the yellow jersey this edition is Floyd Landis, and it will remain to be seen whether or not he can win more editions of the Tour. Physically, there's no doubt about it, and we'll just have to see how that hip replacement goes, which is pending. There's David de la Fuente with the red number as most aggressive rider throughout the whole Tour de France, and he's been out on the attack trying to win stages almost every day. He had the King of the Mountain jersey, not a climber, not a time trialist, not a GC man, but has made the maximum that he can do out of this Tour de France. Nicolas Jalabert on the front, brother of the great Frenchman Laurent Jalabert. Floyd Landis saying earlier in the stage that you always see the team that's on the front of the peloton doing the big work, doing the grind at the front. Oftentimes we don't get a chance to see what the team riders are doing in the peloton and keeping their leaders out of the wind, ferrying supplies back and forth from the team cars, doing the day in and day out work. And Floyd Landis giving complete thanks and gratitude to his teammates who have done a fantastic job of keeping him where he needs to be. It was tenuous. He lost a lot of time in La Toussuire, but he gained it all back in Morzine. And then the time trial, of course, one of the most fantastic culminations of a story that we've seen in sports. And there's Floyd Landis, deservedly wearing the yellow jersey into Paris.
This is stage 20, Floyd Landis in yellow after his amazing feats in stage 17 and 19 yesterday in the individual time trial. Back to Paris after this.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
Blue skies are the norm in the mountains when summer comes, and I'm on the trails every chance I get. Maybe more important than the weather is the gear I use to maximize my experience. I choose LL Bean gear. These can be long days. Over 90 years of boot-making experience goes into LL Bean's Cresta hiking boots. Boots so comfortable, I know I'll wear out long before my feet do. Mountain weather can change without warning, and when it does, I'm ready with my Mountain Storm system. I can put on the rugged jacket for protection against the wind and rain, just a soft shell if the weather's cool, or both for a warm, dry jacket in the worst weather. For a full day of hiking, I load up my award-winning Bigelow pack, and I know I can cover a lot of terrain in total comfort and with everything I need within easy reach. Products designed for durability and performance, sold directly to the consumer at a great price. Check out llbean.com or call 800-441-4913 to get a free catalog or ask an expert about any of LL Bean's gear.
LL Bean is the official outfitter of OLN's Tour de France broadcast team. If you missed any of OLN's new hit series, consider this your lucky break. It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout Marathon, with all 6 episodes rack to rack. Watch as the world's greatest shooters battle it out for the richest purse in the history of the sport. But if they want to survive to the final round, they'd better bring their 8 game. The IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout Marathon. Tuesday at 6 Eastern, only on OLN.
Subway Dinner Theater presents The Unfed. I smell a blockbuster! And for dinner, Subway restaurants!
Try our delicious turkey breast with honey mustard and cucumber sandwich. Savory turkey, crisp veggies, and sweet honey mustard sauce.
Subway! Eat fresh!
Bedhead. Proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
And there it is, the Tuileries and the Rue de Rivoli and Champs-Élysées. That's where the Tour de France is heading for the 8 laps. Floyd Landis leading Oscar Pereiro by 59 seconds. That's how it officially ended yesterday. And that's the way things stand right now. These people have been in position for hours. They've seen the advertising caravan go by one more time, and now they'll see this huge parade. The energy, the colors of the Tour de France, the yellow jersey. And then all the team cars. It's quite a sight.
Eddie Merckx riding in that red car you see. And all he has to do is look over his shoulder and see his son Axel Merckx leading the Peloton onto the Champs-Élysées. And Axel Merckx has had a fantastic tour in the service of Floyd Landis. And Eddie Merckx will be proud of his son's accomplishment. It's one of the best tours we've seen Axel Merckx ride. Memorial to Joan of Arc, overseeing the Peloton, and the big Ferris wheel.
Paris's Central Park. Get chills every time I see this. It's one of the great sights in sport.
Vyacheslav Ekimov, the oldest man in the race. That banner will be 1 kilometer to go, but it won't be for another 8 laps around this circuit, the most famous street in all of cycling.
The oldest man in the race at 40 years of age. He showed he still has the stuff yesterday in the individual time trial.
Had a great result in the individual time trial, finishing in the top 10. I believe he was 5th on the stage. This is his 15th tour. Last year he was unable to participate because he crashed in training, and he got a little bit of gap on the Peloton.
Top of your screen, the Creole with no flag of Texas above it.
Or California or Pennsylvania for that matter.
That's right.
And there's a obelisk there.
At the center of the Place de la Concorde, one of the most beautiful spots in the city. That's where Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI met their demise. A salute by Ekimov.
A salute from Ekimov to the crowd, since they have been supporting him for his entire adult life. A very nice gesture by the man, Vyacheslav Ekimov.
8 laps. They'll cross the finish line this first time. And Ekimov took a little bit of an honor for himself and a little salute to the crowd, and now slides back into the Peloton so that Floyd Landis can be wearing the yellow jersey and take it across what will ultimately become his finish line. Heading toward the Arc de Triomphe, top of the screen. Right past us here on the Champs-Élysées. Some Aussie fans for Cadel Evans.
And perhaps a stage win with Robbie McEwen. Vyacheslav Ekimov saluting the gallery as they have saluted him for so many years in the Tour de France.
Just 4 days ago, what we're seeing on the screen right now was not possible. Floyd Landis had suffered the collapse of his career. What was a 2-minute cushion became an 8-minute deficit. And then on a hip that needs to be replaced, he began the big climb back. And now he sits with his green and gold team. Who knows what that's going to look like next year. It won't be the same color. But the color he's wearing lasts a lifetime.
He couldn't have picked a better year to become a free agent, having won 3 big stage races before the Tour of California, Dauphiné, and Tour of Georgia. He took some time off after that. He was scheduled to ride in the Giro d'Italia, decided that would not be prudent in light of the incredible form that he had throughout the early part of the season, and so started training hard for the Tour.
And there is the traffic circle around the Arc de Triomphe. One of the wildest places to drive on earth.
An 18-lane roundabout with people going in 100 different directions. One of the Crédit Agricole riders having a problem off the back, being paced by his teammates back up into the Peloton. They're going to make the U-turn here at the top of the Champs-Élysées and then have a tailwind and a descent. Very regular tempo being set by the Phonak squad, so Crédit Agricole riders shouldn't have too much trouble catching back on. That might have been Pietro Calciolis. He's their top GC rider, pacing him back into the group. There's Tour Hrushov, the man who won the first stage of this bike race, way back in Strasbourg. Seems like a lifetime ago.
Hey, this race is so long, his arm is already healed.
He'll have a chance to win the last stage, and that would be a fantastic result for Tour Hrushov. He'll be battling it out with Robbie McEwen if it's a field sprint. There goes the first a couple of attacks. Boyke as well as FDJ. Looks like Walter Benito attacking. Benoit Beauregard going with him. They're trying to be joined by a rider from a different squad. Team CSE looks like Jens Voigt trying to close the gap. That is so painful for the riders that have been going pretty easy throughout the day to match those first accelerations. It takes a few kilometers of riding fast to feel better. This will come to naught. Phonak on the front chasing. They want to make a very reasonable tempo. Floyd Landis should have no trouble now following the wheels to the finish line, but the stage win is still up for grabs.
That's when Phonak has to do their quick math. Okay, who's that guy? Where does he stand? Let him go.
Only a couple of guys they would need to watch on a stage like today. Pretty close to the finish line without a big advantage. It's all together. Of course, if Oscar Pereiro attacks, which he won't, but all kinds of alarm bells would sound then. It would have to be one of the riders quite a ways down on GC to be let go out of the top 10. Yuscatel Yuskadi, next team on the attack. These attacks will come throughout the stage. They have succeeded in the past. My teammate succeeded in a breakaway one time. Jeff Pierce, one of the most thrilling stage finishes in the history of the Tour de France. 1987 it was. We had already won 2 stages that year in the Tour. And Jeff Pierce did a great ride to win the stage into Paris.
So there's a totally different energy now. They've made one passage across the finish line.
There's Chris Horner on the front of the Peloton. He wants to keep it together. Iñaki Isasi, he's been on the attack yesterday. Got away with Levi Leipheimer close to the end. He was reeled in with Levi by the other riders in the breakaway, allowing Matteo Tossato to win the stage. That was the day before yesterday. Chris Horner on the front. trying to keep it together. Robbie McEwen will have a great chance to win the stage if it's a field sprint to the line.
Chris Horner said yesterday that his race seemed like it had a black cloud hanging over it from the very beginning, but that as an American rider, it was an honor to take part in this tour because of what Floyd Landis did.
Rest of the group rolling through, little tunnel.
Is the pyramid famous now from the Da Vinci Code, designed by I.M. Pei, to the consternation of some French art lovers, the entrance to the Louvre. And it was I.M. Pei that also designed our mobile OLN studio.
That used to be the Royal Palace, the Louvre, and they moved to the suburbs, one of the first suburban movements in human history, out to Versailles. Iñaki Isasi trying to prolong this attack. That is a very tall order just to hold off this charging pack on a flat circuit of the Champs-Élysées. We'll see where the group is. The group is just about 5 or 10 seconds behind. This is Aitor Hernandez, excuse me. Almost 4 hours behind on GC. So Landis has been in the yellow jersey. This man has been on the roads of France an extra 4 hours.
It's another stage.
It's a whole other stage.
It's like his race was 21 stages.
Half a workday and 4 extra hours in the baking sun. No fun at all. But Aitor Hernandez giving his everything to win a stage today. There he is, just in front of the peloton. It's not going to work, but it's nice to get a little publicity and let everybody at home know you're still in the tour and you still have some life left in your legs.
Phonak is doing a good job of protecting the honor of the yellow jersey here.
Yes, absolutely. That's the team with the yellow jersey expected to do the first few laps of tempo. And Phonak riders rolling through. David Miller on the wheel of the yellow jersey, Floyd Landis. With Jan Ullrich and Ivan Basso, the heavy favorites. I wasn't sure what our chances would be from the United States to get another win in the tour. But with riders like Floyd Landis, the chances are always good, and circumstances had conspired to give Floyd the opportunity to win this race, and he has taken that and run with it. And Floyd Landis now, there he is at the top of your screen in the yellow jersey. What a fantastic race it's been for the man from San Diego, California. Salvatore Comesso trying to attack now.
He's been in the attack on a stage of this race and just fell short. Still 28 miles to go, and it's all going to happen right here in the center of Paris.
Comesso barely missing out on a stage with Pierre Fedrigo. Fedrigo, one of the new French stars. He's on the Bouygues Telecom squad, and that is such a gigantic result for the small team from France.
Bob, I sometimes wonder, with as many miles as there is to go, why some of these attacks happen when the peloton could always pull them in aerodynamically with this many miles to go.
Yes, absolutely. If you have no sprint and you're not a climber and you're not a GC contender and you want to win a stage, there's only one way to do it, and that's to leave the peloton behind and hope that they don't chase you. They almost always do. And that's why the attacks almost never work. That's Comesso joining the Saunier Duval rider. Could very well be David Miller. Tall Brit, time trialing specialist, allowed back into the tour after a 2-year suspension for doping offense.
And now it looks like Phonak is content to settle back a little bit and let some of these other teams in search of the prestige today battle it out.
Chris Horner immediately in the rotation at the front, so Robbie McEwen very fired up. He's the teammate of Chris Horner. McEwen totally fired up to try to win a stage. He's had great success in the sprint finishes, winning 3. It's been very, very hard to beat in the sprints, and the men that were capable of beating him, a couple of them anyways, Oscar Freire and Tom Boonen, are out of the race. So Robbie McEwen standing a great chance to win the stage. If it comes down to a bunch sprint, if it's a breakaway stays, then he won't have the chance. So it will be the Wiedemann doing some tempo.
So the laps continue on Paris's famous boulevard.
We were a great band of pillagers, but with so many people switching to Capital One, we've had to form a new band. Everybody sing! I write the songs, Helga! We even won a battle of the bands.
For low rates and great rewards, switch to Capital One.
What's in your wallet?
The sky is perfect blue, no cloud could spoil the view. It's a from above that shows that we're in love.
Would you like to rub elbows with SpongeBob SquarePants? How about help the Tuttles build a motorcycle on American Chopper? Comcast Spotlight is currently looking for media sales applicants to join our highly motivated sales team. If you have media sales experience, great presentation skills, and ability to communicate creatively and effectively in a fast-paced environment, send in your resume to 2809 East Harmony Road, Suite 300, or call 493-5100. It's sometimes fast, it's sometimes furious, but it's always fun. Join our team today.
Floyd Landis leads the Tour de France tonight. Landis is cracked, Phil. Landis is going off the back.
I came here to win the Tour, and that's what I still want to do, and I'm not done fighting yet.
This has gone according to plan. Landis has done enough to win the Tour.
And that is the comeback and the story that brings us to this moment on the streets of Paris, moving past the Place de la Concorde, the luxury boxes that move every day to the finish line, the team vehicles, and everyone's watching now. Fabian Wegmann, Levi Leipheimer's teammate from Gerolsteiner, and Thomas Voeckler, who's trying to substantiate all those appearances in the earlier stages.
Jens Voigt in a chase group just behind with an AG2R rider, and Phonak still on the front of the peloton. Those riders will not bother them at all. They need a crazy amount of time to get anywhere near Floyd Landis. There's not enough miles left in this race for any of those men to challenge the yellow jersey. So Phonak just doing a very reasonable tempo at the front of the group. Maybe buy that on the left bank tomorrow. Damiano Cunego, flat tire for the white jersey. He's got a long ways to go to get back into the group. He'll need some help from some teammates.
There's got to be some panic in his head right now.
This is a dangerous moment for Cunego.
He had a 19-second lead coming into today.
The peloton is charging hard to catch this four-man breakaway. Jens Voigt going by, Wegmann getting on his wheel. Voeckler struggling now to maintain the tempo of Jens Voigt. But at the back of the peloton, real drama for Damiano Cunego after a flat tire. Peloton is speeding along like they do, chasing a breakaway this close to the finish. And here's your standings. Just 36 seconds between Fothen and Cunego. Sprick an hour and a half behind. So Fothen now this is not the time to win the white jersey or lose it, but you still have to maintain the tempo of the peloton. So Cunego is going to have a tough chase. And Voeckler having a tough time just staying on the wheels of the riders in front of him, including that man, the tall German, Jens Voigt. You can see the time gap to the men in the breakaway. 2 hours and 52 minutes for Voeckler. Jens Voigt, 1 hour and 50 minutes. But the peloton hot on their heels. Another attack. Sonia Duval on the tack. Jens Voigt on the other side of the road, looking over. Peloton at 8 seconds. Jose Garcia Vicente Acosta going across. Could be David De La Fuente, the rider from Sonia Duval. Some sprint points. Robbie McEwen has that competition locked up. U-turn at the top of the Champs. And Jens Voigt accelerating down the other side. A little bit of a descent in the tailwind today. Had a chance to do a lap on the bicycle this morning. Before the crowds, before the caravan, before the riders, before the team cars. And yet there was still people already camped out to get the perfect spot to watch the last stage of the 06 Tour de France.
So we'll keep an eye on it. Mentioned Damiano Cunego. Yesterday he won the individual time trial by 19 seconds. That meant his lead coming into today, as Bob just said, 36 seconds over his young German rival.
Didn't get a chance to see him as the cars went around. Presumably he's back in the group, if not very close.
See Phonak and Floyd Landis staying very busy, about 40 feet behind all this at the front.
A lot of attacks with 22 miles to go. Here's a little group off the front. Garcia Acosta looking back to see where the chase is. Phonak just doing a reasonable tempo, keeping Floyd Landis out of trouble. It's such a small peloton that if 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 guys get off the front and they cooperate well together, they might have a chance to stay away.
So far, nobody has enough to make a break stick.
Jens Voigt persisting with his aggression, trying to stay away. He's already won a stage. CSC losing a place on the podium after the time trial yesterday. Carlos Sastre falling to 4th place. So CSC still trying to gain some prestige out of this year's Tour de France.
Together, we can make a difference. That's why American Century Investments created Livestrong portfolios. Mutual funds designed to support your goals and also help us support the Lance Armstrong Foundation's fight against cancer, because we believe that when you do something good, it can come full circle.
Contact your financial advisor or American Century Investments for a prospectus that contains investment objectives, risks, charges and expenses, and other information that should be carefully read and considered before investing.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma.
I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the ultra.
The road to crown the new king of cycling was anything but straight. From broken dreams to broken bones, sure things to unlikely heroes, this was a Tour de France for the ages. Relive every epic moment, from the shocking suspensions to the amazing comeback that led an American to Paris for the 8th straight year.
Floyd Landis will win the Tour de France.
The men who would be king. A Tour de France special next Sunday at 7 on OLN.
Where would you go for a delicious panini hot off the grill? How about your microwave? Try a Corner Bistro panini from Stouffer's. Cooked on our revolutionary grilling tray, they're the only panini that actually grill to perfection in your microwave. For a crispy, restaurant-inspired panini at home, try our full menu of Corner Bistro panini. And see what's cooking at Stouffer's.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
What a great view of the race you get from being up in the top of the Ferris wheel.
Here's your breakaway. Popovich going through now, taking his turn at the front.
There's a lot of animation with these front riders.
34Ks to go. Popovich already a stage winner as well, so at least 2 stage winners in this breakaway. Jens Floyd, a part of the breakaway that saw Oscar Pereiro get 29 minutes, 57 seconds.
Now this is a group the size of which could succeed.
Absolutely. If everybody's cooperating, the wild card, the 2 riders from the Vita Monlato, who will sit on and not cooperate at all, makes for a discouraging bit of effort being done. One advantage they do have, none of these riders GC contenders, so Phonak won't do a big chase. It'll be the other teams. And there are almost no sprinters left, so Credit Agricole might do some tempo for Tour Hrushov, but only if they've missed the breakaway. We'll have to see the full composition of that break. Credit Agricole does have 1 man in there. 1 chasing FDJ and 1 liquid gas rider chasing well. And there is the Peloton now, starting to lose a little bit of time to this breakaway.
This is what some people don't understand. Why didn't Oscar Pereiro go with this break?
If Oscar Pereiro had gone, it would have been alarm bells for Phonak, and they would have chased with their last bit of energy and effort. And Floyd Landis, he would have chased as well if he had to. But of course, Oscar Pereiro nor Andreas Kloden went with the breakaway, so all the riders in the break are a long ways down on GC. Jose Luis Arieta at the front now. Jaroslav Popovich, Wim van Sumeren. Looks like Pierre Fedrigo as well in the breakaway for Boygi. He's already won a stage. So at least 3 former stage winners. Once you get a feeling for the breakaway in a race, a lot of times you can find the breakaway again. So good indication that this might stay away with the riders who have already won stages, Voigt, Popovich, and Pierre Fedrigo. There's the Peloton now, and not making the big tempo, allowing this breakaway to get up the road. 20 miles to go. It's been a very strange tour, and that trend has continued. 3 riders trying to catch this big group. Garcia Costa asking Van Sumeren why he won't pull through. Van Sumeren saying, I don't want this break to succeed.
They're grouchy up there today.
They're very grouchy. Alvesini trying to bridge across, looking around for some help. One of the Credit Agricole riders trying to do the same. Carlos de Cruz there for FDJ. They're riding on the smooth part of the road, the only 6 inches of smooth road right in the gutter. Like, this is your breakaway composition. Popovich there in the middle, Christian Knees on the back. Jose Vicente Garcia Acosta and Javier, looks like David Arroyo also for the Cays de Parnia squad of Oscar Pereiro. Oscar Pereiro will be tucked in this group, being led by the Phonak squad, but no real incentive for them to do a big chase. They'll be content to let this breakaway stay away. There's Floyd Landis in the yellow jersey right in the middle of your screen.
So none of those men even close to Floyd Landis, part of a breakaway. And you can really feel it, the energy here. These riders have been on the road for 2,200 miles. They draw energy from the crowd. It's the biggest crowd they'll perform in front of, and they're trying to give them a good breakaway show. Jean-Marie Leblanc saluted at the beginning of the stage. Floyd Landis, all smiles. He's in yellow on Champs-Élysées, and we still have about 20 more miles to go.
Llewellyn and Top Rank present the Sweet Science. Thursday night is now Fight Night. today's top contenders, tomorrow's future champions, live in the squared circle, plus unforgettable fights featuring legends of the ring. Fight Night premieres with the NABF Middleweight Championship. Undefeated title holder Kelly Pavlik battles dangerous southpaw Bronco McCart. Fight Night premieres Thursday at 9, only on OLN.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Spot. Oh, I'm gonna need those back. I already punched the ticket.
The rabbit's back.
$47.
Because the city's expensive enough.
Hey.
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration, except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
Got a big family? A lot of Toyotas are larger than you think. Take the Sienna. This minivan has tons of space, and you can seat up to 6 in this Tundra with room for a load of plywood in the bed. Or there's the Sequoia. It seats up to 8 people. And I needed a larger vehicle for my boys.
Get a fill-it-up card worth $1,000 on any 06 Tundra, Sienna, or Sequoia. Toyota, the smart way to keep moving forward.
It's the GMC Red Letter event, the best time to get the best selection of 06 GMC trucks and SUVs, like a Sierra 1500 Crew with best-in-class V8 highway fuel economy. Right now, get an 06 Sierra 1500 SL Crew 4-wheel drive for just $25,370 after all offers. Or qualified buyers get 0% APR for 60 months. Or get an all-new 07 Yukon with best-in-class fuel economy. See the pros at your participating Colorado GMC.
It looked like an old home movie, but it's not. Our crew that assembles that stuff does an unbelievable job. We have 17 miles to go in stage 20. Here's the deal. There's a 15-man breakaway. No threat at all to the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong. That's just the way the Peloton works on a flat stage like this. But moments ago in front of Phonak, the team of Robbie McEwen, the Cofidis team, they came to the front to try and energize the Peloton to catch this breakaway so that their guy, Robbie McEwen, could be part of a sprint.
This is the breakaway. 2 DeVita Monlotto riders. The man in the front, Wim van Sumeren, and American Chris Horner. American Chris Horner, this is his best chance to win a stage in his career at the Tour. It's only been 2 years, but he will not be obliged to do any work at the front. If it comes back together, his teammate, Robbie McEwen, having a great chance to win the stage. There's Chris Horner now, just coming into your screen. Jaroslav Popovic is there as well. Chris Horner does not want to do any work. And if it comes down to a sprint or another breakaway, this is the field being led by Cofidis and Liquigas. Luca Paolini, a fast sprinter for Liquigas. Cofidis, they have Jimmy Casper, who won stage number 1. They have missed a breakaway, so they are doing very, very hard tempo on the streets of the Champs-Élysées. That will benefit the man in yellow right there in the yellow helmet, Mr. Floyd Landis. He had the single greatest day that we've ever seen in the Tour on stage number 17 de la Morzine. Told the Peloton he was going to take off, did just that, and they never saw him again, and now he's in the yellow jersey.
How many sprints is DeVita Monlotto going to be able to set up for Robbie McEwen?
Not that many. They've lost some teammates. They have 2 guys in the breakaway who won't be able to contribute to that, presumably. There's Chris Horner. And Robbie McEwen's been able to follow the wheels of the other team's leadouts and win 3 times. There's Jens Voigt, one of the strongest men in all of pro cycling. His endurance is unbelievable, and his aggression and passion for the breakaways is undeniable. He's always on the attacks every day. Today, no different. Day in and day out for Jens Voigt, his best chance to win is to go out on the attack, and it's already netted him 1 stage win in this year's Tour.
As they head toward the Arc de Triomphe, which was built not in salute to World War II, but it was built to salute Napoleon's victories.
There's Horner matching acceleration by FDJ. Chris Horner, this is the smooth part of the road, just next to the curb. You have to have a pretty good technique to steer the bike down there when you're going as hard as you can go. Philippe Gilbert, perhaps, strong Belgian rider, winner of Het Volk earlier this year. And Chris Horner getting onto his wheel, recognizing that that is a dangerous move, and the cooperation not as it should be in this breakaway. Now Horner will have a teammate there, Van Sumeren, and he needs to match the next set of accelerations. And Chris Horner will not cooperate with Philippe Gilbert, the FDJ rider, off the front of the peloton. The group chasing now being led by 2 teams 15 seconds behind. There they are, right there. The team of Luca Paolini, Liquigas. They're on the front with the Cofidis squad, and that's very tough to stay away, even for 15 men working well together.
When we come back, stage 20 on the Champs-Élysées in the gorgeous city of Paris continues.
OLN has 2 of the biggest names ever to play the game. Next, Venus and the Philadelphia Freedoms try to hold down the Houston Wranglers. Tomorrow, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers crash in on those same Houston Wranglers. It's WTT, starts next, only on OLN. The last time the Cowboys met the Bulls, not one stayed the full 8. Will they bounce back or just bounce? The PBR from Tulsa continues tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific, only on OLN.
Intelligent key technology that knows you. Seats that hug you. A ride that spoils you. The next Nissan Maxima, part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
Magnesium alloy roll cage. The Lenovo ThinkPad T60 with Intel Centrino Duo mobile technology.
Welcome back to stage 20. The coronation of Floyd Landis continues, and the honor of a stage winner still to come. Seeing a lot of red, white, and blue, and a lot of green and blue at the front. Floyd Landis right where he wants to be, tucked in behind that.
For Cofidis, even a couple of their GC men, Sylvain Chavanel and David Moncoutier, coming to the front to do the tempo. Very, very motivated to get this race back together and under control. There's your riders in the breakaway. Philippe Gilbert, and American Chris Horner. He is in a win-win situation if the race comes back together again. His teammate, Robbie McEwen, the best sprinter in the field. If they stay away, he will not be obliged to work, and he will have much fresher legs than Philippe Gilbert, who is doing all the tempo on the front right now. There is the Phonak squad protecting Floyd Landis right in the front of this charging Peloton. And at the back, Michael Rasmussen, the king of the mountain. There's the American contingent cheering for Floyd Landis.
Just under 15 miles to go in this edition of the Tour de France.
Karlstrom on the front for Liquigas, on his wheel Stefano Garzelli. Luca Paolini has been very consistent in the sprints. He has not got the better of Jimmy Casper, Thor Hushovd, or Robbie McEwen, but unless they catch the breakaway, there's no hope. So Liquigas in full flight at the front of the peloton with the Cofidis squad. Here's the riders protecting Floyd Landis. Floyd has one of the best wheels in the peloton to sit on, and that is Axel Merckx, the tallest man in the Tour de France.
And the team in green and gold is trying to finish this as proudly as they can.
Two riders in the lead. They are 5 seconds ahead of a group that is 22 seconds ahead of the peloton with 14 miles to the finish line.
That obelisk goes back centuries. It was a gift from Egypt in the 1800s. It took 4 years to bring to Paris.
Seems like it's taken us 4 years from Strasbourg to get back to Paris. Pierrick Fedrigo, Jaroslav Popovic on the front, Wim van Soumenen. The FDJ rider will not cooperate either. He has a teammate just off the front of this group.
And here comes the peloton.
The peloton led by Cofidis and Liquigas, two very committed teams. David Miller making the breakaway also, the Saunier Duval rider in all yellow. Agri Tubel, Milram, Euskaltel, almost all the teams represented. Liquigas is not in there, and they're doing a big chase behind, nor is the Cofidis squad. Corner caught now with Philippe Gilbert. They're in this group, 20 seconds ahead. They're in the 15 riders in the lead, and the peloton with Floyd Landis right there coming through your picture, swinging into the tunnel underneath the Opera of Paris. They'll come out on the other end, take a hard left, and streak back up the Champs-Élysées, back onto the cobbles. Chasing a small group, 15 riders. At 20 seconds, Cofidis and Liquigas doing the big tempo. That takes the heat off Phonak. They'll just have to keep Floyd Landis out of danger until the end of this race. 13 miles between Floyd Landis and unbelievable glory. Pierrick Fedrigo taking his turn at the front on his wheel. Philippe Gilbert did a big attack. Chris Horner went with him. They were caught. Jaroslav Popovic, he's trying to keep this breakaway up the road. David Miller as well. About half the group working, about half not, so that's pretty discouraging when half the guys are just sitting on. Chris Horner and Wim van Soumenen, they will not do any work. They will just sit on the wheels and hope that it comes back together. Then Robbie McEwen, the fastest man in the bike race, will have a chance to win the stage. There's a little attack. Looks like Voigt and Miller off the front.
It's almost impossible to get 15 men with the same agenda, and obviously we've got a lot of different agendas on display here. They're not going to let Voigt go that easily.
Same agenda or the same strength left in their legs at the end of 3 weeks of racing. Van Soumenen coming back across. He'll probably be in the frame when we pan back a little bit with the cameras. Miller and Voigt on the front doing a hard turn of work, and there's the field led by Cofidis and Liquigas.
The gap is now 12 seconds away from the peloton.
This is a long, tough, false flat up to the Arc de Triomphe. There's a headwind coming right straight at the riders as they go away from the start-finish line. The rider who wins this stage is going to have to time his sprint to perfection.
I don't think this breakaway is going to work. I think the peloton is going to, as it does most days, win out.
There's Robbie McEwen coming into the frame. Not a very concerted, cooperative effort in the breakaway. Too many guys. Garcia Acosta now launching. David Miller re-energized, going back on the wheel. And here is a flat tire, Sebastian Lang. And this is a horrible time to get a flat. It's going to be very, very hard to get back into the Peloton with just 20 Ks to go. And it's been quite a long time since he's pulled over to get a wheel change. And one would shudder to think what would happen if that was Floyd Landis.
Floyd Landis' forearms bouncing on the cobblestones. Still all together with Phonak. OLN's coverage of stage 20 continues after this.
Subway Dinner Theater presents The Unfed.
I smell a blockbuster! And for dinner, Subway restaurants!
And the delicious new bourbon chicken sandwich. Tender chicken in a zesty sauce, hot and fresh from the oven on freshly baked bread.
Subway! Eat fresh!
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
Where would you go for a delicious panini hot off the grill? How about your microwave? Try a corner bistro panini from Stouffer's. Cooked on our revolutionary grilling tray, they're the only panini that actually grill to perfection in your microwave. For a crispy, restaurant-inspired panini at home, try our full menu of corner bistro panini and see what's cooking at Stouffer's.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
To thank our valued partners. See drhortoncolorado.com, America's #1 builder.
Floyd Landis still in the main pack. Still a little over 11 miles to go, and another problem.
That looks like Fedrigo. He was in the breakaway, and that's horribly bad luck. He's going to be passed by the Peloton, and he will have a hard time catching back up after moments ago being in front of the lead group. There it is, thundering down the Champs-Élysées. You can see riders sprinting, trying to get back into this group of 6. Garcia Acosta asking Chris Horner to work. Chris Horner saying nope. We want it to come back to a field sprint. That way we have a much better chance to win the stage.
So not everybody liking each other in that group of 6 at the moment.
Cofidis still chasing, along with Liquigas. They're down to just a couple of riders from each team, though. The Peloton is vulnerable to attack. You can see this group of these riders just struggling to keep up. 3 T-Mobile riders at the back, including yesterday's stage winner, Sergei Gonchar, dominating the long time trials in this year's tour, winning both of them by wide margins. But Floyd Landis doing enough to get the time back from Oscar Pereiro to complete one of the most beautiful stories in the history of cycling. His return from the collapse at La Toussuire, and the most magnificent ride we've seen on a single day in all the years of the tour to Morzine, and then a beautiful time trial. Floyd Landis in the yellow jersey on the Champs-Élysées. There's Pavel Pererno, so a reorganization at the front. This group trying to get to the 6 in the front, and here's the Peloton catching them. Never mind, Euskaltel saying that was a decent try, but these guys are going way too fast today.
$10 miles to go.
Chris Horner's had a very active day today so far, covering the breakaway, not working, not necessarily cooperating with it, but going with each one of the attacks, and he stands a great chance to win the stage. If they tow him to the line, he has a tremendous amount of endurance and resistance. He could win the stage. This is his best chance in a long time. There he is, Davide Monlato, and the other riders doing all the work, and Chris Horner just sitting on.
Remember, way back in the beginning, Chris Horner had a very bad hand injury. He said he thought he could go on, and he's made it all the way to Paris. But if they don't work together, they're not going to stay away.
There's Sylvain Chavanel. David Moncoutier also doing work at the front with Bradley Wiggins. Here's Pierre Federigo. He had the flat tire, and just a few Ks has been able to get back onto the group. Here's Sebastian Lang. He had that long change after a flat tire. He is getting close to the red zone, chasing on 173 beats per minute. His maximum probably just over 180, 190. So he is at about 100% of his effort, producing some huge watts right there, trying to get back into the group. He's a fantastic time trialer, and he might have a chance to get in, but that's going to be a tall order. Just under 10 miles to go to the finish line. Kofidi still on the front. Jimmy Casper will be taking notice of this. There's Kunigo, there's George Hincapie. Jimmy Casper, winner of stage 1, will be taking note of his teammates' effort to get him back into the frame to win the stage. Mikel Astarloza, he's trying to break away, going away from that group, not happy with the composition and the lack of cooperation, so he's trying to reduce those numbers, being chased down by Chris Horner and Christophe Lamnevel. Still in this little group, Philippe Gilbert, the FDJ rider, and now the Peloton is hot on their heels. This breakaway is going to get caught in a moment. Depending on how hard that chase was, we might see another chance for a breakaway to succeed with 14.5 Ks to go. Kofidis did a fine job chasing down that dangerous breakaway, but now if they fan out across the front of the road, the group vulnerable to attack. Straight pass, Liquigas and Kofidis have swept up all the breakaways now. Now we have a full bunch. Maybe the only rider not in the group is Sebastian Lang. He had a flat tire, struggling to get back on, but most certainly there is Floyd Landis right on the wheel of all of his teammates on Phonak. There he is in the yellow jersey and the yellow helmet. 2 laps to go between Floyd Landis and the greatest result of his cycling career and some of the best riding we've ever seen in a bike race.
So it's an entirely new ball game. It's like we are beginning from scratch.
Now you can see the Peloton slowing down. They want to conserve as much energy as they can before the final dash to the line. But they have been willing so far today to expend the maximum amount of energy to catch the dangerous breakaways. And here is the tailing riders in the back of the group. And that is a long day at the office when you're sitting on the back, just struggling to stay on the wheels.
The German word for safe is sicher. The Portuguese word for firewall is muro de fogo. The Chinese word for password is mima. My company's in 17 countries now, and I can say secure in every one of them.
Dynamic networking from AT&T identifies security threats before they're problems, so Jane's confidence grows right alongside her company. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
Is this,
Yeah, this is it. So, it's $2,400 a month. First month, last month, 3-month security, and my fee is in there. Kitchen, bath, room for a bed. So you're gonna take it?
the rabbit's back.
Oh yeah, this is the best thing I've seen all day.
Because the city's expensive enough.
Bedhead, proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday, it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best Little Leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beat. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
Introducing Ruby Tuesday's Triple Prime Burger. The only one made with prime tenderloin, prime ribeye, and prime sirloin, ground fresh. So it eats like steak and cuts like butter. The new Triple Prime Burger, Ruby Tuesday.
This Monday and Tuesday, G4's coverage of the superhero of all conventions continues. Attack of the Show presents Comic-Con 06 Live, Special Edition. Back in the studio, Kevin, Olivia, and comic guru Blair Butler bring you even more news, interviews, and events. Plus, we get you inside 2007's biggest blockbusters, Iron Man, Casino Royale, and Spider-Man 3. Attack of the Show presents Comic-Con 06 Live. Presented by Yaris. Monday and Tuesday at 7, only on G4.
Peloton shaped like an arrow heading down the Champs-Élysées. We almost don't even have to explain what it would mean for a Frenchman to win this stage.
A couple of years ago, Jean-Patrick Nazon won the final dash of the line, and it gave new life to his team, Jean Delatour. They became Brioche La Boulangère, and now they've carried their sponsorship through to Bouygues Telecom. So that was a great result for Nazon, as well as that whole cycling team. 7.8 miles to the finish line. Looking like a likely field sprint at the moment, with a lot of motivated teams sitting on the front. Von Sumernen was in the break. Now he's at the front doing the tempo. One of the few Davide Monlotto riders left with some life in the legs and energy to do a big chase now. Very tough to break away when three teams are at the front doing a big tempo like this.
A lot of Aussie fans here. We've seen a lot of inflatable kangaroos.
Garcia Costa tacking on the back. He was in the breakaway. FDJ up to the front. They have a fast sprinter as well in Bernard Eisel, so not a bad idea for them if the race comes back together. Here's the latest attack. Agri Tubel going up the gutter. Just like Chris Horner was saying earlier in the tour, shooting the gutter. It's fast. It's not very safe. He crashed doing that and broke his finger.
So Floyd wisely pedaled to get in position on the outside as they made that big U-turn.
Robbie McEwen safely towards the back in the middle, staying out of the wind, just waiting and hoping that it comes down to a field sprint. Almost too obvious at times when it's like this for Robbie McEwen. The other riders will queue up on his wheel. He'll have to time his sprint to perfection if it does come down to a field sprint. Quick Step doesn't have their big sprinter, Tom Boonen, in the race anymore, but they did get a stage win from Matteo Tossato in spite of the fact that their big star, Tom Boonen, was not in the team. They still came up with a stage win, and that was a great result for the Quick Step squad.
The Arc de Triomphe looms large now over this peloton, all intact with 7 miles to go. So in just these few laps, we've seen a little bit of what happens in cycling. Breakaways happen, breakaways are caught. Alliances are formed, alliances are broken. The yellow jersey is respected, the yellow jersey is protected. Aerodynamics wins in the flats. And the energy of these men is beyond something we can calculate. Like the tallest of mountains, it is HC, their energy, beyond category.
From this fray, one man will emerge as the stage winner and the eventual overall winner. And that man is in the yellow jersey. His name is Floyd Landis. And what a road he has traveled to get to this point here.
I'll be shocked if they don't make a movie.
They will make a movie. The deal is in the works, as they say. It's like Cedric Vasseur going out on attack here. 6 miles to go. You need an unbelievable amount of strength to hold off the peloton this close to the finish line with the sprinters teams queued up. 10 Ks to the finish line. The latest attacker, a Frenchman, Cedric Vasseur. There he is, just dangling off the front. He will not make it.
You know what Hollywood will do? They'll muck it up. They'll say that's not good enough a story.
Not even Hollywood could muck up the life story of Floyd Landis.
6 miles to go.
Cedric Vasseur caught. FDJ on the front. Lotto now moving riders to the front. They covered the breakaway and did not cooperate. That's Mario Ertz on the front of the peloton, setting it up for Robbie McEwen. 6 miles to the finish line. Just one more lap when they come around. The bell lap on the Champs-Élysées. Big field sprint will probably unfold. A rider could emerge if there's some hesitation. It's been a very tough, violent acceleration just in the finale of this bike race.
Floyd Landis right near the front, moving to the middle. The coronation about to take place. Keep your eye on the peloton. See if you can pick out the green jersey. There he is. Robbie McEwen is licking his chops now at this opportunity that's going to come at the bell lap. Because if it comes to a sprint, there's really been no one left in the race who's come close to Robbie McEwen.
Has spent most of the day in this part of the field out of trouble, following the wheels, and now he's moved way up. You can see him just a couple of riders behind the yellow jersey of Floyd Landis. Floyd Landis perfectly positioned. He only has a few kilometers before he will be safely in. Credit Agricole on the front. Tor Hushovd will dice it out with McEwen. Bernard Eisel, only a few sprinters left. Eric Zabel. Lotto doing a great job today. They didn't have the firepower to do the big tempo at the front, so they sent Chris Horner and Johan von Sumenen into the brakes. They did not cooperate. Those brakes were caught.
Here comes something.
There's George Hincapie getting something started on the left-hand side of your screen. Let's see if they launch an attack. Popovich was in an earlier one. Here's further down the line. That's the back of the peloton. All together, 4 miles to the finish line. 1 lap around the most famous street in all of cycling, the cobbles of the Champs-Élysées at the end of the Tour de France in Paris, France.
It's time for the final lap of stage 20 and the coronation of the man who would be king. When we come back, Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen have the call.
OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins Wednesday at 7 p.m. on OLN.
Widescreen Lenovo ThinkPad Titanium with Intel Centrino mobile technology.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
Welcome to the real world Key West.
Don't act like an 8-year-old. I'm not going to listen to it anymore.
Someone's getting kicked off the show. Check out the real world Key West, Tuesday nights at 10, only on MTV.
It's Subway Restaurant's Get Away and Play Instant Win game. You can win great food prices and trips to any Frontier Airlines destination, including Mexico and Canada. Fly in today and play. Subway, eat fresh.
There's the bell. That is sweet noise to the ears of all of the riders in the Tour de France. Well, it will be, Phil, in 6.8 kilometers time anyway.
All of the leaders of the Tour de France have defended their lead today. The team, the white jersey, the polka dot, the green, the yellow, they'll all stay the same. But who's going to win the stage of the Tour de France? 1 lap to go. Everybody wants to win it. Now look at the faces of these boys now as they ride now to stop the race splintering so the sprinters can come and just jostle as they come off the Place de la Concorde.
On the front, Davide Monlotto, they're thinking about McEwen. Quick step, maybe Matteo Tessato now is going to stand up to the mantle of team sprinter for their team. Behind the white jersey, FDJ, they're thinking about Bernard Eisel. And of course, Robbie McEwen is somewhere in that pack, hiding away in the middle, waiting for the moment to leap out of the confusion, as is his aim.
177 started, 139 will finish, and 3,800 kilometers are under the wheels of these bike riders, and they are still riding at speeds like this. Watch down to the depths of the pack now and see which sprinters are finding the legs on this last day to get into position.
Well, you can see the speed here now. This is really what the ultimate is all about. And Jens Voigt is going to have another go. If anyone will take on the sprinters, it's this big man from Team CSC. What a beast. But he's not going to surprise him here this afternoon. He might be trying, Phil, to disorganize it for his mate Stuart O'Grady. You see, all of a sudden, all you need is a fraction of a slowing by the sprinters, and boom, somebody else can have a go.
But there's an awful lot of Lance Armstrong's former team getting up towards the front now, the Team Discovery Channel. And that could be that George Hincapie wants to go out on a high note here. Not been the greatest tour for that team because of no Lance Armstrong. They're in a learning curve now.
Well, don't forget, in the early part of George Hincapie's career, he was renowned as a sprinter before he turned around to become a one-day classics rider and then finally a great support rider in the mountains of the Tour de France for, of course, Lance Armstrong. Now, around about 4 kilometers to go, they will move away from the Arc de Triomphe for the last time, down the Champs-Élysées, across the Place de la Concorde before lining up for the final sprint on the final day.
Well, it's closed all day. It'll be closed for the rest of the evening. The Tour de France is alone and burning up the road in the centre of Paris here now, as once again we launch yet another attack. Wim van Sevenent, his arms bandaged from the battle out in the mountains when he didn't descend too well. Driving on now as he races towards the finish with Carlson in second place. These boys can't pedal any quicker now.
No, they can't. They're all over the front end of the main field, trying to keep the paces high. Look at this, 61 kilometers now, 42 miles an hour as they come down to the bottom of the Champs-Élysées. They're looking now at around about 4 kilometers to go to the finish. This is what it looks like at the back of the main field. We're actually now starting to touch 72 kilometers an hour as they charge down. It's slightly downhill, I know, but this is an incredible turn of speed.
4.3 kilometers to the finish now. Their backs towards the Arc de Triomphe as they now race to go around the back, and then they'll be coming up the other side very shortly. They'll pass the finishing line on their left shoulder. Carlson is setting the pace at the front, the champion of Sweden. The long, thin line behind are hanging on now just to finish. It's the boys about 15 to 20 down is where the eyes should go, because they are planning to win the stage.
They've got to keep the pressure on now. They don't want a last-minute burst from a rider like Bradley Wiggins, who's hovering around in there somewhere. There's a bit of organisation. Oh, look at the moves. Everybody, this is Plan Antonio Fletcher trying to come out of the pack. This is the hard move.
That was a plan because his teammate actually pushed him there into the fray, which is not allowed, but it doesn't matter because he's not going to win anyway today, Fletcher.
All over the main field, everybody looking for the gap, just trying to wait for the last possible moment. If you make an effort right now, you might not have a chance to make the effort a second time. As we come across the Place de la Concorde, it is almost all over now for Floyd Landis, but it's not for the sprinters. They have still got to show us why they are the warriors of the street.
Well, this is Fletcher still hanging on in there, but the drive is coming at him now. And watch out too, I think that took him off about 4 riders down. The grand old man is going. This is how he won in 1991 in Macon when he rode them off his wheel. Here, it was a long time ago that he's 40 years of age now. Surely the speed's gone.
Well, Yaroslav Ekimov won a stage like this in the Tour de France back in 1991. He hasn't got the gap, but I think what he's trying to do is stop any confusion a little bit further back. Look at the speed, 33 miles an hour. They can't stay on the wheel of Yaroslav Ekimov. The man trying to nail them back now is Frank Schleck of Team CRC, but Hincapie is right up there.
George Hincapie has told Ekimov that he can win the stage today, and that's why Discovery are riding like this. An American will win the Tour de France now. There's no doubt about that as they race into the tunnel. But you know, George Hincapie is looking to go out of this tour with a stage win. He led it for a day. He lost the first stage by 73 hundredths of a second, and he attacks.
He's attacking right there with Yaroslav Popovic right on his wheel. This is a long way to go. He was hoping to surprise, and maybe this is the move by Yaroslav Popovic. Hincapie's got the gap. This is good. You see, Popovic is now going to go.
That was a mistake. He's gone too soon. The enthusiasm got the better of him there. He's trying to block the move from Popovic, but he's gone too soon. Here comes the counter moves now, but it might destroy the sprinters. He's gone at 1 kilometre to go. Nobody can survive at the front for a kilometre. But what has happened, it may spoil the sprinters. That's Calzati, who's gone on the third wheel.
And he's cracked it. You can see Yaroslav Popovic has switched across the road now. He's come back into the line. They're all over the road here like a snake coming into the Place de la Concorde for the final time. This has caused a little bit of consternation for the sprinters. Look at the speed. They're all over the road now trying to get themselves organised. You've got to get a good place coming into this final sweeper. It's a right-hand bend with 450 metres to go coming through the middle. They've got the move. Robbie McEwen, Phil, is right there.
McEwen is perfectly poised for this one again, and he's going to take on Eric Zabel, or is he? Zabel's got McEwen's wheel as he tries to get the lead out for the line now. McEwen is in a perfect position for win number 3 in Paris. Nobody gets across this man. Hutchop chases him hard. Robbie McEwen may have gone a little bit too soon. He tops and tails the Tour de France. Hutchop, he wins stage 1. He wins in Paris, and McEwen will get the green jersey. What a finish.
Well, looking down the main field, we're looking for the yellow jersey. There it is on the far side. Win for Floyd Landis.
So, as Landis crosses the line, he was congratulated by his team. McEwen was forced to lead out a little bit earlier than he thought here. But Thor Hushoff, the man who lost his chance in the opening week of retaining the green jersey, comes by with a super sprint finish in the end. Really, at that stage, McEwen should have won. He was too soon to launch, and in fact, Hushoff was simply brilliant. He tops and tails the Tour with a win at both ends.
Well, I told you a little bit earlier on, Phil, you have to be very careful with the sprint on the Champs-Élysées. The excitement, the nerves of the last day, being on one of the most beautiful avenues in the world. If you start the sprint too soon, you will always fail down towards the end. Thor Hushoff knew that. He got it just right.
So, look at this once more now. McEwen was dreaming of a third win in Paris, but it wasn't to be. Stuart O'Grady, far right of the picture, he also was there. It wasn't to be. This is the happy man here from Norway, Thor Hushoff. It's a long time since somebody's won the first prologue and then the last sprinter stage. But I'm not sure it's been done.
I think that's what to check in the books a little bit later on.
It's certainly been done stage 1 in the end, but I'm not sure that prologue time trial and a road race finish has ever been done in the Tour de France.
You better check 1979.
Hushoff lost his Tour de France for his race for the retention of the green jersey, of course, because he lost too many points and he had that crash on day 2 of the Tour in the road races.
But look how much he won by. That was a monstrous beating of Robbie McEwen.
In fact, the sprinters were ruined a little bit there by those late attacks. Thor Hushovd has won the last day of the Tour de France after winning the prologue in Strasbourg. This man has won the Tour de France. Another American has come fourth. It's the third American to win. It's the 11th American victory in 21 years of the Tour de France. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, who would have believed, Phil, that he could lose himself 10 minutes on a mountain stage and fight his way back the next day? The man never gave up. And as people are saying, the way he did it, it was an a la Eddie Merckx. And Merckx was riding in the team car behind him this afternoon. And I think he was really happy to see his young son's teammate come up with the win.
So as we look down, Hushovd is the man who has won the stage. And of course, the one who has won the Tour de France is Floyd Landis. When we come back, we'll have all the final presentations, the interviews. Yet another American in Paris on a perfect summer afternoon. Floyd Landis now can take time out. He is the winner of the 93rd event. We'll see you in just a moment.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
53-minute time. They are piling it on. Look at the time of Team CSC. 52:28.19, an average speed of 55.57 kilometers an hour.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the Ultra.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
The road to crown the new king of cycling was anything but straight. From broken dreams to broken bones, sure things to unlikely heroes, this was a Tour de France for the ages. Relive every epic moment, from the shocking suspensions to the amazing comeback that led an American to Paris for the 8th straight year.
Floyd Landis will win the Tour de France.
The men who would be king. A Tour de France special next Sunday at 7 on OLN.
LL Bean gear. If it lives up to our test, you can be sure it will live up to yours. For a free catalog of everything you need for fall, call us or shop now at llbean.com.
Welcome back. We're looking down on Paris for the last time for the 93rd Tour de France. The riders have crossed the line. We're getting ready for the prize presentations. The top prize will again go to an American. Floyd Landis has won the Tour de France. The first time for him, but it's the 11th time for Americans. This is the finish today. The great stage win by Thor Hushovd outwitted all of the pure sprinters. He won the time trial on day 1. And now on day 21, he wins at the last stage of the Tour de France. Terrific finish and a nice result for him too, because he was the rider who got that badly cut arm on the stage from those big cardboard hands. But what a day for Floyd Landis. He was never in trouble. The team looked after him.
He was under a lot of pressure, though, because you do have to stay at the front of the main field. You do have to stay out of trouble. And, of course, let's not forget those final few laps over the Champs-Élysées, Phil. We were touching speeds of almost 40 miles an hour.
There's Thor Hushovd, and the music's beginning, so he's going to be called up pretty soon. Very happy man. He's just been congratulated by Roger Liggett, his team manager. I'm quite sure, too, that Dag Otto Lauritsen, who works here for television and won a stage of the Tour de France, riding for the 7-11 team a few years ago. He's also ridden extremely well in the past. He told us yesterday that Hushovd was looking to win this stage today, and he's done it. Top and tailing the Tour de France, and prologue to the last stage. He's a very nice guy. He lost his chance to defend his green jersey he won on points last year, but this year he's made amends.
Well, ironic, because the way he won the green jersey last year was because of a relegation to Robbie McEwen. This time, it's a relegation to Thor Hushovd that allows Robbie McEwen to win. That's the irony of the sport. But for him, Phil, winning here on the Champs-Élysées, this is one of the most beautiful places you can win a bicycle race in the whole world. Look at that for a backdrop.
Let's have a look now at our Honda stage results, because this will show the sprinters almost getting to the top. Thor Hushovd winning, 3 hours 56 today. McEwen there in second place. O'Grady getting a good finish in third after his crash in the first week. Zabel in fourth, and Luca Paolini having to be content again with a top 5 finish, but not the result he's looking for.
The next is going to be the green jersey, and this will go onto the shoulders of Robbie McEwen.
Yes, he's got young Ewan McEwen with him. And I think we've got Jane Madden here making the presentation, who's the chargé d'affaires from the Australian Embassy. And this will be a big moment for Robbie, because he is winning it for the 3rd time here. I mean, I remember the publicity Robbie got in Australia when he won this for the first time. Then he made it 2. But this time he really did make it his, because it wasn't just a 3rd win. There was 3 stage wins, and this competition was won 3 days to go.
He certainly had it completely and utterly dominated. And what's amazing, I think, is Australia has taken this title 4 times in the last 5 years. The only man to spoil the party for Australia was the man who won the stage today, Thor Hushovd, and that was last year.
And they'll probably cross swords again, but Robbie was sprinting as well as we've ever seen this man sprint. He's won 157 races in his career, and there's a lot more in those fast legs yet. Ewan McEwen, his son down there, we've watched him grow up, and now he's coming up with Dad. He's got his own green jersey, look. Let's see if we can show you the final point, Stanley, because it is quite a big margin, this. The biggest margin that Robbie certainly has ever won by. 288 against Eric Zabel's 199. The 2 closest to Robbie, 3 really, Bernardi, Oscar Freire and Tom Bonan, all dropping out along the way. Hushovd with his win today nearly caught Zabel. He got 35 for that win, and he's come in now in 3rd place. Not bad for the defending champion.
Not bad at all. Bernard Eisel consistent. This man, though, is the winner of the King of the Mountains for the 2nd year in succession. Michael Rasmussen built the foundations on a long, lone escapade to the summit of a climb called La Toussuire, which will be remembered, I think, by many, including Floyd Landis.
Just peeping in behind there, Bernardino, 5 times winner of the Tour de France. This man showed us how to win at the King of the Mountains in 1 day in the saddle, when he led the whole race and he bagged all the points on the big climbs in the Alps. That moved him into the lead, while David De La Fuente had tried for days nibbling away at the smaller mountains. He never looked like being anything less than the King of the Mountains after that.
Young kid, pretty handsome looking there in his polka dot outfit. His wife, by the way, is a Mexican mountain bike rider. And today I think he will be thinking about a possibility of trying to ride the Tour de France 1 year for the overall victory. This year he dedicated himself very much to Denis Menchov, a former winner of the white jersey classification in the Tour de France. And Menchov didn't quite come up with the goods when we came into the big Alpine passes. He was probably not quite as good as his teammates like Rasmussen or even Michael Bogert on a number of occasions.
And the chargé d'affaires from the Danish embassy, Brigitte Moussin, was making the presentation there to Michael Rasmussen. Resplendent for the 2nd year. Not bad for a mountain biker. He transferred from being a world champion riding mountain bikes to a King of the Mountains for 2 years now of the Tour de France. 166 points against 131. Rasmussen took most on 1 day. The very next day, Landis took all of his, and he couldn't quite catch up with Rasmussen. Now, this is the first time in the Tour de France for this young Italian, Damiano Cunego. He was the youngest rider to win the Tour of Italy since Fausto Coppi, who is just over 21 years of age. Now he's just over 22 years of age, and he's looking at a future riding the Tour de France, but maybe not.
Yesterday morning, Phil, I would not have given this man any chance at all of winning the white jersey competition, because he was only 5 seconds ahead of a very good individual time trialist, Marcus Photon. Patrice Claire of the organisation here, ASO, is presenting the white jersey to this young man. What a ride that was in the time trial, though. At the first time check, I got a real shock.
Well, that's what the team management of Marcus Photon said, the rider who had it, and was a former young world champion at the time trial. He said Marcus didn't lose the jersey, Cunego won the jersey. And I think that was a very fair description. This man delivered the ride of his life yesterday, when he only had a lead of 5 seconds at that time.
Must have had a little scare, though, on the Champs-Élysées, because a flat tyre at the wrong time could have robbed him of that lead. He only had 36 seconds advantage going into the final day over Marcus Photon. There, it was 38 seconds actually over Photon. But look at the gap back down to all of the other riders.
1 hour.
An hour and a half to Mathieu Sprick. Damiano Cunego retained that name. He might not be at the Tour de France next year, but in a couple of years to come, Phil, I'm sure he'll be back.
So we're getting down to the major awards now. There he is, all smiles, and all of the journalists reflecting in his sunglasses. Here he comes, wait for it, after 7 years of Lance Armstrong. And they all thought there was going to be no more Americans for a while. They were wrong. Floyd Landis steps up to take the Tour de France as his first serious attempt to win it.
Well, who would believe when we got to the summit of the Alpe d'Huez, this man took the yellow jersey. We thought, right, that's it. Floyd Landis is going to win the Tour de France. The next day, he was blown away on the slopes of La Toussuire. The day after, he brought his way back into it on the road to Morzine. What a story.
A huge round of applause there also from Jean-Marie Leblanc, who's off to the left of our picture here. The man who now retires as the director of the Tour de France. There he is. They gave him a maillot jaune yesterday. Now he's passing the final maillot jaune of the Tour de France to Floyd Landis. He won it, he lost it. He won it, he lost it, he won it.
The other man there as well, congratulating Floyd Landis, Bertrand Delanoë, mayor of Paris. And that's a special little LCL, or Crédit Lyonnais line there for Floyd Landis to take home with him back to San Diego at the end of the Tour.
So, amazingly, America continued to dominate the Tour de France. Greg LeMond started it all. Lance Armstrong won 7 straight, and now Floyd Landis has won 1. Unbelievably, the man is requiring a replacement hip in the months ahead, and he still wins the Tour de France.
Great performance, but I tell you what, Phil, the most impressive thing I think about Floyd Landis's performance was that it looked as if he'd been completely blown away. He and the team came out the day after he crumbled on the slopes of La Toussuire to battle, go out on a breakaway, which is theoretically, according to the way we understand the sport, impossible. 130-kilometer breakaway, finishing with 6 minutes advantage over the second man on that occasion, Carlos Sastre, and bringing himself back to within 30 seconds of the overall lead. What a day.
Bravo, Floyd, impeccable. This is what's happening now behind the scenes. He gets to sign all these jerseys, which will be given away later to the VIPs and the very privileged few of the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. This is the team that brought him home. Sadly, not able to ride around the Champs-Élysées because he was eliminated yesterday, Robbie Hunter, yet he was the strong men, and everybody's sad about that.
Well, it's a shame to see the retirement of riders, but let's not forget also Martin Perdiguero, a teammate of Floyd Landis, on the big Alpine stage over the Galibier. He went down in a nasty crash, but he still came out to fight the next day. Now, Phil, we will see the top 3 riders in the Tour de France this year.
So on to the stage now to meet the winner. They battled it out on the Alps. They battled it out through the Pyrenees. Andries Kloden to the right gets third. He finished second, remember, to Lance Armstrong a couple of years ago. Oscar Pereiro, twice before finishing 10th, now finishes second. They led him back into this race. The presentations again being made here now by Craig Robert Stapleton, the ambassador to France from the United States. And watching on there will be Lizavetsky, the minister, delegated minister of sport for Spain, and also, of course, for Germany, Frédéric de Saint-Sénan, the former minister of the President of the Republic of France, of course. Well, we're waiting now for the big moment, the 8th time. Here we go. So Floyd Landis gets the victory. 8 years now, Americans have dominated this Tour de France 7 times. Lance Armstrong now retired. Up comes Floyd Landis, a former teammate of Lance's. Formed his own team last season, and now, as by the new tradition set by Lance, it looks like we're going to have a speech from the winner.
Thank you, everybody who kept believing, most of all my team, when things weren't going so well. They kept fighting and never stopped believing. And secondly, this one is dedicated to Andy Reese, the most important guy behind this team and the happiest guy here today, I think. Thank you to all of you.
Yes, Andy Reese is the team owner of Phonak, and he will be the most excited guy there, I reckon.
Well, he was the man who put together a team, he built up a team, and he supported and believed in men like Floyd Landis. Landis was brought into the team initially as an apprentice leader, and all of a sudden was dropped into the top end of the sport, and all of a sudden he learned to live up to that mantle as leader of the team. And what a team he built this year, and he really required his team to rise to the occasion, especially Phil on stage 17, which I'm sure we are going to talk about for many, many years to come, because he did what most people would expect was impossible. He dragged himself from out of the top 10 back into the position of contender.
When he told his team, you better get ready for a hard day, boys, I'm attacking tomorrow, they just didn't believe him. They said, you are joking, aren't you? And he wasn't, as we now know. He gets the trophy from the Tour de France. The team will change its name at the end of this season. It'll become iShirt, which is a British-based investment company, and who knows whether Floyd would ride for them or not.
Well, it's been very successful for Phonak throughout these years of their sponsorship, because now it's a company name which is known throughout Europe, and it's known by around about 75% of the Swiss population, which is where the company is actually based. But for Floyd Landis, he's not worried about facts and figures. All he's worried about, Phil, is being the winner of this bike race. 11 times in the last 21 years, America has taken the title away.
We haven't finished yet. We'll wrap everything up for you of this amazing 93rd Tour de France. When we come back, we will be with Al Trautwig and Bob Roll. That's next.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday, it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts at classic clashes. The best little leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beat. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
Ooh, I need a fix. Come on, man, I'm correct.
Bob, just one game card a day.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of sick prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at TrekBikes.com.
Nope. No.
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration, except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
Is this,
Yeah, this is it. So, it's $2,400 a month. First month, last month, 3-month security, and my fee is in there. Kitchen, bath, room for a bed. So you're gonna take it?
The rabbit's back.
Oh yeah, this is the best thing I've seen all day.
Because the city's expensive enough.
Hi.
It's the GMC Red Letter event, the best time to get the best selection of 06 GMC trucks and SUVs, like a Sierra 1500 Crew with best-in-class V8 highway fuel economy. Right now, get an 06 Sierra 1500 SL Crew 4-wheel drive for just $25,370 after all offers. Or qualified buyers get 0% APR for 60 months. Or get an all-new 07 Yukon with best-in-class fuel economy. See the pros at your participating Colorado GMC dealers.
Someday, a better way to organize your finances. Today, get free checking with online tools like My Spending Report. Only at Wells Fargo.
2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by the Trek Tour Mania Scratch and Win Sweepstakes. Play every day of the tour at your local Trek dealer and at TrekBikes.com. And by Star Motorcycles. We build it, you make it your own.
Well, the long journey from the little kid on a mountain bike in Lancaster, Pennsylvania to San Diego, California to the roads of France is over. Floyd Landis getting the champagne and the congratulations all around, and American cycling fans cheer again for the 8th consecutive year as he takes the maillot jaune onto the Champs-Élysées and wins the 93rd edition of cycling's Great Race. Welcome back, Al Trautwig and Bob Roll. Bob, it's been an honor and a lot of fun to share these 2,200 miles with you. I think we've learned a lot of things, but we have to, in any conversation about great comebacks in sport history, always include now what we saw here.
Almost definitely Floyd Landis' rise like a phoenix from the ashes of La Toussaint to the glory of Morzine and the time trial, and now the Champs-Élysées in Paris in the yellow jersey. You could not even have envisioned a better scenario to carry American cycling forward after Lance's 7 years of domination. Another star on the horizon, and it's some bitter champagne for the French. Floyd Landis is your man in the yellow jersey.
Well, in the hours of coverage that we had every day, we tried to take you into the world of cycling and not only talk about the yellow jersey, but the subplots within the main story. So there is the maillot jaune of Floyd Landis that he now wears, but as we now know, of course, there are other jerseys and fashions to talk about. And the presentations were made. Jean-Marie Leblanc, the race director since 1989, said goodbye, and everyone here said thank you. Christian Prudhomme will take over the race, which begins in London next year. Robbie McEwen in green, Floyd Landis, Michael Rasmussen in the King of the Mountains jersey, and Damiano Cunego of Italy in the white jersey as the best young rider. Let's look at the standings. Michelob Ultra has taken us through them all month long, and Floyd Landis wins officially by 57 seconds.
57 seconds to Oscar Pereiro in second place. Cloden, a great ride in the time trial to pull himself into third, just in front of Carlos Sastre of Spain, and Cadel Evans in 5th place on GC. Menchov in 6th for Rabobank. 2 Frenchmen, 7th and 8th. Zubeldia and Rogers rounding out the top 10.
When the day was over, of course, we wanted to find out exactly what the yellow jersey winner was thinking as the overall standings go all the way down. Top 20, 43 minutes back. And look at George Hincapie, 1 hour and 11 minutes behind Floyd Landis. So he wears the yellow jersey, only the 3rd American to ever do it. And after the race, he spoke to us on OLN.
Floyd, I tell you what, the phrase greatest comeback in Tour history has been used a lot this week in terms of your riding. You just heard the Star-Spangled Banner on the Champs-Élysées. What's this victory mean for you?
Yeah, that was very nice. I'm proud of that one. As far as greatest comeback, who can say? I'll let other people judge that, but I'm proud of the way my team raced and proud of the way I raced. And I think it was probably more exciting to watch on TV than it was for us. It was a bit stressful at times.
Speaking of TV, as a teenager, you watched Greg LeMond win on this street, and I've heard that inspired you. How many times in the years since then have you imagined standing here doing a winner's interview?
I've imagined it quite a few times. I was fortunate enough to be here with Lance and watch how he did it, so that helped. But yeah, this is quite an experience.
There are a few rumors floating around. If you can, just clarify the contract situation and moving forward.
For now, I have no intention of changing teams. I'm very happy here.
Speaking of next year, you know, the hip surgery, you let that out of the bag a little bit a while ago. That's been big news. But now, looking ahead, when can the cycling world expect to see you back?
Best case scenario, I won't miss any time racing. I don't plan to do any more races this year anyway, so hopefully I'll get that out of the way, and we'll take it one day at a time after that, but I should be all right.
Safe to say you, Andy, and the boys are going to have a big party tonight, right?
Yeah, he's a happy guy.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, athletes usually follow the money trail, but in the case of champions, a lot of times they like staying where they know they can be successful.
Floyd Landis, he has a big opportunity now. His contract expires and he wins the Tour de France, but he'll probably stay with whatever iteration Phonak becomes. What an incredible journey it was. So many twists and turns, convolutions, and the serpentine route. The riders facing up an unbelievable set of obstacles, and Floyd Landis, the man, to overcome them all.
Right now, we're taking all the images that we have amassed over the course of the past month and adding in some exclusive behind-the-scenes footage. Join us next weekend for our recap of this race. The stories of the men who would be king and the man who became king. It's a tour special next Sunday at 7 Eastern Time and 1 a.m. Eastern Time on the repeat. That is the men and the man who would be king next weekend right here on OLN. So we say goodbye and thank you for joining us each and every day for what is an amazing adventure. And a true adventure means that you experience things along the way that you never thought you would and uncover things that surprised you. You have to say that as we say goodnight from Paris, Floyd Landis was all of that. Bonsoir. Thanks for joining us.